Chapter 4986. Jiang. Is this the Jiang family's intention? Huang Tong's eyes turned slightly as he muttered to himself. He looked at the immortal words and thought, since this immortal puppet belongs to the Jiang family, it means that there is a Jiang family in the immortal realm. The immortal messenger from the 10,000 demon realm was surnamed Shen, and the human that the colorful Phoenix King and the Fire Phoenix King found was surnamed Wen. Could it be that there is a family like the Wen family in the Yi-Lin continent in the immortal realm? Not to mention that Huang Tong had discovered the immortal puppet's secret. Looking at the immortal puppet that was glowing with silver light, it was rolling in the air like a pellet. The silver light around it was like a candle in the wind, flickering and dimming. How is this possible? Yizhen felt a rush of blood. He quickly used a secret technique to adjust his breathing. Looking at the immortal puppet that could not withstand Huang Tong's attack, he could not help but exclaim. He knew that the Yi family had stolen the heavens and sealed the immortal puppet in the Jade Rui. The immortal puppet's strength had already surpassed the late stage of the tribulation passing stage. Just now, he had used all his strength to kill Huang Tong and did not hold back. Although this heaven-wind forbidden area limited his strength, the immortal puppet was not. Therefore, there was only one possibility. Huang Tong was not only a great saint of the demon clan, but he also had strength that surpassed the late stage of the tribulation passing stage. If it was a celestial being, he would have laughed and shouted wildly, immortal puppet, is only a so-so. But Huang Tong was different. He retreated a lot and then stood steadily. Although he was arrogant, he said, this immortal puppet is indeed powerful. It is far beyond my expectations. Who are you? Why do you have such a powerful weapon? If not for your lack of strength, I am afraid I would not be able to resist this immortal puppet. Yizhen heard that Huang Tong did not mean to belittle the Yi family and was very happy. He did not dare to be negligent and quickly bowed. Junior Yizhen, the head of the Yi family, greets Senior. May I know Senior's background? Can you teach me? There is no need to say who I am now. Later, fellow Taoist Xiao will tell me. You can keep the immortal puppet. Huang Tong smiled. His body flew across the sky and landed in front of the two. He said, I'm sorry that I forced you to use this item. Yizhen waved his hand and threw out the Jade Rui. Under the light of the Jade Rui, the immortal puppet slowly shrank and was sealed back into the Jade Rui. Only then did Yizhen look at Kong Chang in the distance. He carefully smiled and said, this is not Senior's fault. We were too rash and fell into the demon race's trap. If not for Senior's help, we would have suffered a great loss. When Yizhen spoke up to this point, he asked in a low voice, may I know who this Senior Xiao is? Could it be that this junior knows him? But, why haven't I heard of it before? Huang Tong raised her hand and pointed into the distance. She smiled and said, look over there. That golden giant is perfected Xiao. Yizhen looked up, but before he could see Xiao Hua's transcendence golden body, he saw Yu Hongzi's figure move and fly over with a panicked expression. However, Yu Hongzi saw the ferocity of Huang Tong's transcendence golden body and did not dare to approach. He wanted to turn around. Yizhen could not help but call out, Yu Hongzi, come over. Yu Hongzi was now in a state of panic. How could he dare to approach? He waved his hand and said, Yi family patriarch, I won't go over. I wonder, who is this senior? Yizhen naturally knew why Yu Hongzi was so cautious. He smiled and said, fellow Taoist, don't be afraid. The one in front of us, is the demon race's great saint. Even if you escape from the Tianfeng forbidden land, if he wants to kill you, you won't be able to escape. Demon race's great saint. Yu Hongzi's face was even paler. He stood in the air and hesitated. Yu Hongzi was very lucky. He was responsible for killing Perfected Gold Saint. However, Perfected Gold Saint revealed his demonic body and activated the demonic weapon hidden in the dragon-shaped spiritual treasure. He was no longer a match for him. Seeing the demon flying out, Yu Hongzi wanted to fly over to help Fairy Mo Yun. However, before he could get close, the demonic weapon and demon blocked him. Of course, even if Yu Hongzi was a loose cultivator, the demonic weapon and demon could not kill him. Yu Hongzi used many methods and was prepared to kill the demon and join forces with Fairy Mo Yun. However, the demon's body was a demonic weapon. Although it could not block Yu Hongzi's attack, Yu Hongzi could not kill the demon. Just as they were in a stalemate, the demon supremacy appeared. The demonic pillar swept past and swallowed the demon that was giving Yu Hongzi a headache. The demon supremacy's aura scared Yu Hongzi. He could not believe that a demon supremacy from the demon realm would appear at this time and place. Moreover, the demon supremacy's strength was far beyond his imagination. Fortunately, the demon supremacy ignored him and turned into a black cloud that rolled away. Only then did Yu Hongzi wake up. He wanted to escape from the heavenly wind forbidden land. However, after killing perfected Gold Saint, he landed in the center of the forbidden land. At this time, he was at the edge of the Kunlun Mirror's light pillar. He could not teleport. In particular, Xiaohua's doppelgangers appeared around him. There was no way for him to escape. However, when he saw the Yi family patriarch, who was the closest to him, respectfully saluting him in the air, and the immortal puppet's aura, Yu Hongzi carefully flew over. He wanted to find someone to join forces with. Yizhen wanted to say something, but he heard the rumbling of thunder in the distant horizon. Yizhen hurriedly released his divine sense. At this time, the heavenly wind forbidden land spatial storm was controlled by the Kunlun mirror. The divine sense of a late-stage tribulation passing cultivator was no longer restricted. When Yizhen saw the situation in the distance, he could not help but be stunned again. Of course, the Thunderbolt Immortal was there. After receiving Xiaohua's order, the Thunderbolt Immortal could not hold back anymore. He rushed toward the place where Bright Moon Householder and Ji Yen Jinren were fighting. However, they were fighting in a corner of the heavenly wind forbidden land. Apart from Long Shenxi and Old Man Gu Qiong, it was the furthest place from the Kunlun mirror. Daoist Ji Yan's temper had always been somewhat irritable, and when he saw that Bright Moon Householder had hidden himself in Daoist Jin Xing's cloak to plot against him and see through his scheme, he became furious. Moreover, Bright Moon Householder's spiritual treasure, Moon String, had become much more powerful after Bright Moon Householder had come out of his secluded meditation. Daoist Ji Yan's bell-shaped spiritual tool couldn't resist it, and was at a disadvantage after a single blow. This made him even more furious. However, Perfected West Moon's words still touched him. He restrained his anger and wanted to reach a compromise with the Heavenly Alliance. However, Perfected Gold Saint suddenly attacked at such a critical moment. The hot-tempered Perfected Ji Yen Jinren realized that he had been deceived again and again, and he couldn't help but fly into a rage. He pointed at Bright Moon Householder and cursed him loudly, while he slapped his own head. Bang! A golden light beam shot out. Ji Yen Jinren rarely used his spiritual treasure, the Universal Seal, emitted a powerful aura, and flew out. Ji Yen Jinren didn't give Bright Moon Householder any chance to defend himself. He raised his hand and pointed at the Universal Seal. The spiritual treasure tumbled in the air and became several acres big. Then, it smashed down like a mountain. Layers upon layers of golden shadows took the shape of the sun, the moon, and the firmament. They covered the sky above Bright Moon Householder, and they smashed down even more fiercely than the falling rain. Bright Moon Householder sighed inwardly when he saw that the Universal Seal had suppressed the devastating spatial storm. He knew that Ji Yen Jinren hadn't sustained any injuries in the spatial storm. Now that Ji Yen Jinren had used his full power, Bright Moon Householder clearly understood that Ji Yen Jinren was afraid that Bright Moon Householder would join hands with the demonic tool and demon generals, and would injure him in a short time. If Bright Moon Householder didn't use his full power, he would probably be injured by Ji Yen Jinren first. However, if he used his full power, even if the demonic tool and demon generals didn't attack him from both sides, how could he explain the misunderstanding to Ji Yanjinren? Bright Moon Householder hesitated for a moment, but the boundless aura of the universal seal fell down with a loud rumble. Bright Moon Householder had a bitter taste in his mouth, but he could only raise his hand and wave it. The sickle-like spiritual treasure crescent moon streaked across the sky and turned into moonlight as it hacked at the universal seal. Swish! Swish! A blade-like crescent moon appeared, and a 10,000 feet long blade light soared into the sky. That blade light, which could split open the earth, instantly hacked the golden shadows in a 10,000 feet radius into two halves. However, the blade light was only able to cut through the 10,000 feet radius of its force, and it didn't eliminate the giant shadow that threatened Bright Moon Householder. Break! Bright Moon Householder was somewhat unwilling. But, he still opened his mouth and spouted a mouthful of blood essence. Then, several cryptic magic seals were quickly imbued into his body. He clearly sensed that his lifespan was rapidly dwindling. Bright Moon Householder raised his eyes, and looked at Ji Yanjinren's sinister face. He felt extremely helpless. His lifespan was passing away in such a manner, so how could Ji Yanjinren fare any better? But now, he, Ji Yanjinren, and even the supreme cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance and the Tao Alliance had fallen into the demon's trap, and they were powerless to escape. In the end, both sides would suffer great losses. Damn it! Bright Moon Householder roared inwardly after he cast the magic arts. I'm afraid that I'm the only one who knows that this is the demon's scheme to shift the blame on us. Even Long Shensi will think that we are cooperating with the demon race, right? We are already the supreme cultivators of the Yilin continent, so who has the strength to stop us from fighting? At this moment, Bright Moon Householder saw that the last demon tool was quietly approaching Ji Yanjinren outside the boundary storm. He really wanted to kill this demon tool and explain it to Ji Yanjinren. But, he was clearly aware that Ji Yanjinren wouldn't let him go past him to rendezvous with the demon tool and demon tool. While Bright Moon Householder was pondering, his blood essence fell into the moon's spiritual treasure string. Swish, swish, swish. The moon's spiritual treasure string shone brightly, and Bright Moon Householder waved it again with great difficulty. Then, layers of blade lights soared into the sky like waves, and collided with the universal seal's shadow. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to it. I would like to thank Daoist Xiao and the other fellow Taoists for their support. Chapter 4987. In the distance, the Kunlun mirror had already begun to control the space storm, but the effect had yet to reach here. However, at the place where the two spiritual treasures collided, boom, boom, boom. A deafening roar sounded, and a violent force like a dragon pounced on the forbidden land. In an instant, the space storm that could wipe out mountains actually calmed down. A clear world appeared between Taoist Master Ji Yen and Bright Moon Householder for a brief moment. Humph! Taoist Master Ji Yen squinted his eyes and sneered. Moon string is nothing more than this. Bright Moon Householder, I might have been afraid of you if you had refined the demonic blood into it. But, now, hand over your life. Taoist Master Ji Yen also spouted a mouthful of blood essence, and the universal seal shone with blood-red golden light. Buzzing. Thunderous sounds echoed, and the seal turned into 9 layers. Taoist Master Ji Yen even raised his hand, and 100-meter-tall nascent soul magical body flew out. He made a hand seal, and it fell on the 9 layers of the universal seal, and urged it to suppress Bright Moon Householder once again. The spiritual treasure hadn't reached him yet, but pitch-black spatial rings had already appeared above Bright Moon Householder's head at an extremely fast speed. Bright Moon Householder's complexion changed greatly. He knew that Taoist Master Ji Yen was ruthless, but he had still underestimated his decisiveness. Taoist Master Ji Yen had only exchanged 2 moves with him, yet he had already decided to kill him. Forget it. Bright Moon Householder felt somewhat disheartened. Who told me to choose the wrong Taoist master Jinsheng? Since things have come to this, I can only fight with my life on the line. Bright Moon Householder's body swelled once again, and his primordial soul magical body appeared. However, Bright Moon Householder's primordial soul magical body was different from that of other cultivators, and it looked like a bright moon under the silvery light. Bright Moon Householder opened his mouth after his magical body took shape, and the spiritual treasure moon string was unexpectedly swallowed by him. Bang! Another rumbling sound echoed, and Bright Moon Householder's primordial soul magical body unexpectedly took the shape of a moon string, just like Xiaohua's magical body had taken the shape of a sword. Bang! At this moment, the demonic pillar of the demon venerable fell from the sky, and swallowed the demonic weapon and demon head before it could even approach. Demon Venerable Shi's unruly laughter echoed in the two's ears. Taoist Ji Yen and Bright Moon Householder were obviously aware that another change had occurred in the heavenly wind forbidden land. But, it was a pity that they had already taken action. The arrow was already knocked on the bow, and the string was already pulled. They had no choice but to shoot. At this critical moment, an extremely arrogant voice rang out like thunder. This is so interesting. The Yilan continent is protected by the Tao Master and the Tao Ancestor. It is just a small trick of the Devil Clan, and it is enough to make two supreme cultivators of the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance fight to the death. If the Tao Ancestor and the Tao Master knew about this, they would be so angry that their noses would be crooked. Who? Both Taoist Ji Yen and Bright Moon Householder were startled. While the two of them were still in shock, they saw a bolt of lightning streaking across the sky, crossing the boundary storm and landing between the heaven and earth seal and the moon string. As the lightning receded, the figure of the Thunder Immortal loftily appeared amidst the power of the spiritual treasure, which was like a raging wave. It can't be. The two supreme cultivators were gobsmacked, and the same thought appeared in their minds at the same time. He can't be thinking about taking on the full power attacks of two supreme cultivators who have activated their natal spiritual treasures at the same time, can he? Could it be that he has an extremely powerful ancient divine tool? However, they were still overthinking it. The Thunder Immortal waved his hands, and his 10 fingers clawed at the same time. Then, an indescribable power of law came out from his left side. Rumble. Lightning flashed and thunder rolled, and 2 lightning balls, each of which was several acres in size, appeared. He unexpectedly wants to use his bare hands to block 2 spiritual treasures at the same time. Does he think that he is a Tao Master? Bright Moon Householder couldn't think straight. He didn't dare to believe that there was someone on the Yilan continent who could block his full power attack, which was activated by the moon string, with his bare hands. He also didn't believe that this person wanted to block his attack, which was of the same power, from the Deputy Alliance Master of the Tao Alliance. However, these were just the thoughts of Bright Moon Householder and Ji Yen. In a flash, the Heaven and Earth Seal, which was activated by Ji Yan's nascent soul, and the moon string, which was formed by Bright Moon Householder's primordial soul, collided with the Thunder Immortal's lightning balls. Although it seemed like they were colliding at the same time, there was still a slight difference. Ji Yen made his move first, and the 9 illusory images of the Heaven and Earth Seal broke through the void and collided with the several acres in size of the lightning balls. Bang! The first illusory image of the Heaven and Earth Seal sank into the surface of the lightning balls. Then, the innumerable lightning bolts on the lightning balls pierced the illusory image like swords. The illusory image of the Heaven and Earth Seal was shattered, and the lightning swordlights were annihilated. An aura, which wasn't inferior to the Heaven and Earth Seal itself, went against the current and rushed into Ji Yan's nascent soul. This cultivator is actually so powerful. Taoist Ji Yen was shocked beyond words and could only think of this numbly. Who is he? Suddenly, a thought flashed through Ji Yan's mind. Could he be Zhang Xiaohua? No, his appearance is completely different from Zhang Xiaohua's. Damn it! How could a human cultivator, whose cultivation level is even higher than I's, not know the illusion technique? Thinking of this, Ji Yan immediately used the strong aura of the lightning balls to suppress the power of the heaven and earth seal. At this moment, everything that happened in front of his eyes made his eyeballs almost fall out. The Thunder Immortal roared angrily in the air, "Break for me." Then, the Thunder Immortal's left hand, which was facing Ji Yan, suddenly turned toward the lightning balls. Woo! The surface of the lightning balls, which had been annihilated along with the first illusory image of the heaven and earth seal, suddenly spun rapidly. The spinning force was so great that it even caused ripples to appear on the second illusory image of the heaven and earth seal. Not only that, but the Thunder Immortal's left hand also spun rapidly from his fingers to his arm to the left side of his body. Finally, the Thunder Immortal's left arm strangely moved forward, and a huge fist hit the spinning lightning balls. Bang! The spinning lightning bolts rushed out of the lightning balls fiercely and pierced into the illusory image of the heaven and earth seal more sharply than any spiritual treasure in the world. Puff, puff, puff. With 7 muffled sounds, the Thunder Immortal's fist broke through 7 illusory images of the heaven and earth seal and reached the 9th illusory image. At this moment, the Thunder Immortal's strength seemed to have reached its limit. The 9th illusory image of the heaven and earth seal, which was the thickest illusory image of the heaven and earth seal, flickered with a magnificent light, and countless mountains were reflected in this magnificent light. Phew! The dumbfounded Ji Yan finally came back to his senses. He let out a long sigh and thought to himself, "That scared me to death. Although this cultivator is powerful, he is still a human. How could he possibly fight against my spiritual treasure?" With this thought in mind, Ji Yan raised his head and glanced at the moon strings in the distance. Just as he was about to speak, rumble. While Ji Yan was lost in thought, the fist that had already reached the 9th illusory image of the heaven and earth seal suddenly changed. A torrent of lightning roared and completely submerged the illusory image of the heaven and earth seal. Ji Yan's nascent soul Dharma body could already feel the despair of the endless torrent of lightning. As for Bright Moon Householder, his primordial spirit transformed into a moon and rushed into the void. Within a radius of 100 miles, boundless saber lights fluttered like snowflakes and pounced on the surface of the Thunder Immortal's ball of lightning. Puff, puff, puff. Just as the saber lights came into contact with the ball of lightning, countless bolts of lightning appeared on the surface of the ball of lightning and collided with the saber lights. How could this ball of lightning be so powerful? Bright Moon Householder was startled once again when he heard the explosion sounds all around him. This was the remnant might of his primordial spirit transformed into a sword, so how could the light of an ordinary spiritual treasure compare to it? However, the ball of lightning that the Thunder Immortal had casually condensed possessed such might. Bright Moon Householder really didn't know how much might this ball of lightning contained. Bang! While Bright Moon Householder was pondering, the sickle-like saber lights hacked at the ball of lightning. Although the lightning flickered and the thunderbolts roared, they still couldn't block the sword strike of a Tao integration cultivator. However, after a short moment of rumbling, a crisp sound similar to that of an eggshell cracking echoed, and the ball of lightning unexpectedly exploded. In front of Bright Moon Householder's eyes, that ball of lightning turned into a flower that was several acres in size. A flower condensed from lightning? Bright Moon Householder felt as if he had just witnessed the most ridiculous thing in the world. The lightning that could annihilate all living things had unexpectedly turned into the world's weakest and most delicate flower. How could this flower withstand the moon string strike? As expected, a loud rumbling sound echoed, and the lifelike flower was instantly annihilated by the saber lights. However, several seconds after the flower was annihilated, a crackling sound echoed, and another dazzling flower that flickered with boundless vitality was born in front of the moon string. Bang! Just as the flower of lightning was born, the saber lights fell upon it, and the flower was annihilated once again. Just like this, the flower bloomed and withered, and the lightning was born and extinguished 1,000 times in the blink of an eye. Every time the lightning was born and extinguished, it would carry with it a wisp of life and death energy. This wisp of life and death energy was weak, but it was enough to resist the moon string's attack. Bright Moon Householder's moon string was like an arrow at the end of its flight when the loud rumbling sound of thunder echoed. "Ha, you are a bit stronger than the previous one, but you aren't that much stronger." The Thunderbolt Immortal, who still maintained the right half of his human form, laughed heartily. Soon after, he stretched out his right arm and shouted loudly, "Come out for me." While he was speaking, a rumbling sound echoed as the Thunderbolt Immortal's hand condensed from the 9 heavens divine thunder came out of his right hand. A wisp of life and death energy, which made Bright Moon Householder tremble in fear, came out of this hand of lightning. The hand of lightning streaked across the sky, and caught Bright Moon Householder's moon string, which had transformed from his soul into a sword, in its hand. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to it. I would like to thank Taoist Xiao and the other fellow Taoists for their support. Chapter 4988. Crack. Crack. The power of life and death fell on Bright Moon Householder's nascent divinity, producing a power of principle that Bright Moon Householder could not even look up to. His nascent divinity could no longer maintain its crescent moon shape, and was forced to withdraw from the crescent moon at an extremely fast speed. Along with the withdrawal of his nascent divinity, a force as strong as the force of heaven and earth tightly bound his nascent divinity, rendering him unable to move at all. "Senior Zhang, please show mercy." Reverend Ji Yen was dumbstruck when he saw Thunderbolt Reverend use the art of thunder to forcibly pull Bright Moon Householder out of the crescent moon. Then, he suddenly realized what was going on. With a change of mind, he hastily flew across the sky and came before Thunderbolt Reverend, bowed, and said, "Please don't kill him. We still need to find out the secret of his collusion with the Devil Clan from him. You've saved your divine ability, and we still need to deal with that Devil Venerable, Thunderbolt Reverend let go of the hand and said with a loud laugh, "I'm Thunderbolt Reverend, not the Zhang Xiaohua you mentioned. And, that Devil Venerable is not the enemy you think he is. As for the truth, I'll tell you when Reverend Xiao comes here." "Reverend Xiao?" Reverend Ji Yen was struck dumb and asked curiously, "Reverend Xiao? Who is that senior?" "Of course, it's him." Thunderbolt Reverend glanced at Bright Moon Householder, whose face was flushed, and Reverend Ji Yen, who was puzzled. Then, he raised his hand and pointed at Gao Tiandao, saying, "Wait and see for yourself." Damn it! Could it be that apart from Senior Zhang Xiaohua, there is another Reverend Xiao who is more powerful than him in this world? Reverend Ji Yen and Bright Moon Householder could not help but raise their heads and look at the horizon. Xiaohua released all his clones and gave them a few instructions in his mind. After that, he and Reverend Yun flew toward the depths of the heavenly wind forbidden zone in a hurry. He had sensed that the dragon aura which had attracted him to this place was on the verge of going berserk, and it was 100 times more dangerous than the cultivators who were fighting in other places. When Xiaohua and Reverend Yun finally crossed the realm storm and arrived at the place where the dragon marks and fiend marks interweaved, they saw that within the area of nearly 1,000 miles to their left, apart from the realm storm that was wreaking havoc and the spatial ripples that were dancing in the air, there was also an enormous avatar of dragon blood emanating a frightening aura of dragon and fiend, enveloping the entire space. Xiaohua frowned as he looked below the dragon blood celestial body. There were countless colorful rings, one ring after another, protecting a space that was only a few acres in size. Wherever Xiaohua's gaze fell, the colorful rings actually gave birth to endless visions, almost dragging Xiaohua's mind into them. "Oh my, this is also an extraordinary treasure." Hastily, Xiaohua recollected his mind and looked at Reverend Yun. Reverend Yun was following behind Xiaohua, not saying a word. He was looking at Long Shenxi's dragon blood avatar, which was dancing crazily, with a deep look in his eyes, as if he was pondering about something. "Cough cough, fellow Taoist." Xiao Hua coughed twice and reminded, even if there's anything unusual, he's still a human. I'm afraid it has nothing to do with your suspicions. Hee, fellow Taoist, look at that. That's a 9-colored dragon horn. Do you think it's so easy to get Ai's dragon horn? Reverend Yun retracted his gaze, swaying his 9-colored dragon horn as he looked at Xiao Hua and said with a proud smile, fellow Taoist, don't forget that even the dragon kings of the 4 oceans in the 3 continents and the dark-armored pentacrons in the 1,000 demons sacred realm are not 9-colored. Only those who have the bloodline of the sacred dragon clan in the dragon realm can bear this 9-colored dragon horn. If not for your meridians and the dragon cleansing liquid, how could I get this dragon horn? This puny human, even if he is the master of Heaven Alliance, Long Shensi, how could he have a 9-colored dragon horn? I don't think so. Xiao Hua gave Long Shensi's 9-colored dragon horn a strange look. He thought for a moment and said, I remember. I've seen a 9-colored dragon horn before. Is this Long Shensi as strange as you said? Fellow Taoist, perhaps you've seen a 9-colored dragon horn before. Reverend Yun waved his hand disapprovingly and said, but how could that mottled 9-colored horn be compared with this pure 9-colored one? Fellow Taoist, don't you feel the power of heaven and earth contained in this 9-colored horn? If not for this pair of dragon horns, how could this so-called Long Shensi be the strongest expert in Heaven Alliance? Also, that fiend who damaged his own fiend body seemed to be just a fiend emperor. How could he have invaded this peak stage Tao fusing human cultivator with his fiend energy? Unless that fiend knew about Long Shensi's weakness and what this 9-colored dragon horn meant, and did something to specifically target the dragon bloodline in the 9-colored dragon horn, causing Long Shensi's dragon blood dharma body to turn into a fiend. Does that mean the 9-colored dragon horn means the bloodline of the upper realm? Is there some kind of conspiracy from the fiend realm? Xiao Hua asked. At the same time, the crazy Long Shensi had already activated his dragon blood dharma body, roaring into the sky and destroying countless dimensions. Then, he turned his ferocious dragon head around and plunged down toward the 5-colored ground. Seeing the 5-colored ground bursting like bubbles and the dragon head plunging down in front of Meng Ping Tianxia, Xiao Hua immediately shut his mouth. With a sway of his body, he was about to dash out. Reverend Yun smiled and said, don't worry, fellow Taoist. Long Shensi's opponent should be old man Gu Qiong, the strongest expert of Tao Alliance mentioned by Kong Jing. If he can't even withstand this attack from Long Shensi, he doesn't deserve to be called the strongest expert of Tao Alliance. Is Long Shensi alright? Xiao Hua stopped and asked uncertainly. The 9-colored dragon horn not only means the bloodline of the dragon clan from the upper realm, but also the bloodline of the fiend realm's fiend dragon. Long Shensi has turned into a fiend, so his overall strength can only skyrocket. He can't be injured. Reverend Yun said with a smile, besides, the fiend energy left in his bloodline by the fiend emperor can only activate the 9-colored dragon horn, but it won't hurt his body. Fellow Taoist, you mean? Xiao Hua was startled and asked curiously, this Long Shensi probably has the bloodline of the fiend dragon. His turning into a fiend is just an inevitability, and it won't affect his body. But, even if it doesn't affect his body, won't it affect his Tao foundation and Tao heart? What is a fiend? What is fiend blood? What is fiend flame? What is Tao? What is Tao foundation? What is Tao heart? Reverend Yun asked 6 questions in a row, but he did not expect Xiao Hua to answer. He just stared indifferently at Long Shensi who had turned into a fiend. Just as the dragon head was about to reach Meng Pingtian's body, Meng Pingtian suddenly burst into flames like an exploding candlelight. Long Shensi's dragon head swayed slightly, then produced the same number of dragon heads and plunged into the flames again, puff. Suddenly, a 5-colored halo rushed out from Meng Pingtian's body. In a flash, it landed on Long Shensi's dragon head and gently exploded. Although the explosion looked light, Long Shensi's dragon head began to tremble violently. Then, it began to sway crazily, and an extremely painful expression could be seen on his ferocious dragon head. Soul stab. Xiao Hua was taken aback. He stared at Reverend Yun in disbelief and asked curiously, "Isn't that the soul stab of Soul Cultivator? It's a little more powerful than the ordinary soul stab." Reverend Yun said with a smile, "It looks like the title of the strongest expert of Tao Alliance is well deserved." While speaking, Reverend Yun turned to look into the distance and said with a smile, "That Mo Ling kid has succeeded and is on his way here. Let's do it. Damn it." Just as Xiao Hua was about to raise his hand, he suddenly exclaimed in a low voice, "I suddenly understand. I don't know what the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance's goal is, but the true goal of the Devil Race. I'm afraid it's not to sow discord between the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance, but the number one expert of the Heaven Alliance, Long Shensi, right?" Reverend Yun was taken aback, but he soon nodded and said, "You're right, fellow Taoist. That's possible. But we'll find out after we ask that Mo Ling kid." "All right." Xiao Hua looked at Meng Pingtian, who was trapped by Long Shensi, and said, "Fellow Taoist, go and distract Long Shensi while I summon that old man Gu Qiong. Be careful, fellow Taoist." Reverend Yun reminded him, "It's fine if Long Shensi turns into a fiend, but if old man Gu Qiong wakes up, he will be very vigilant." I know." Xiao Hua replied with a smile. Roar. Seeing this, Reverend Yun threw his head back and let out a dragon roar. The next moment, a realm storm rolled up rapidly and rushed toward Long Shensi's dragon blood celestial body. Under the influence of the heaven and earth of the myriad demon realm, Reverend Yun released his dragon body and pounced on Long Shensi. Roar. The realm storm wrapped around Long Shensi, causing him to roar furiously. When he saw Reverend Yun pouncing on him, Long Shensi's dragon body trembled as if he was afraid. But then, the fiend runes on his body shone with a pitch-black brilliance. Long Shensi roared again and pounced on Reverend Yun recklessly, as if he had seen an irreconcilable enemy. Apparently, Reverend Yun did not use his full strength. While dealing with Long Shensi, he lured him away while Xiao Hua's body swayed and landed near Meng Pingtian. After Long Shensi left, Meng Pingtian began to dance again. Rings of 5 colors bloomed like a blooming epiphyllum, swaying with the wind and filling up the area again. Just as Xiao Hua's figure landed on the ground, shwa shwa shwa. Dozens of multicolored figures spun around, carrying countless desires and dreams as they fell towards Xiao Hua. Seeing that the interface storm wasn't able to compare to the flattering multicolored figures, Xiao Hua faintly smiled and waved his hand to take out the dream sea butterfly from the space. As soon as the dream mirage butterfly was taken out, a breeze started to blow. It was stronger than Meng Pingtian, and illusions were revealed in the gaps of the breeze. The breeze passed through the colorful illusions and covered the dreams. After a few breaths, Xiao Hua smiled and said, "Is old man Gu Qiong inside?" "I, Xiao Hua, am honored to meet you." Following Xiao Hua's voice, the dream tapestry butterfly flapped its wings, and the dream tapestry world shattered into pieces. However, the shattered pieces did not scatter, but instead converged into the interconnected rings around the dream tapestry world. P.S. For all the fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, donate it, and Chapter 4989. When old man Gu Qiong saw Meng Ping Tianxia's real body, he appeared in a daze and walked stiffly into the air like a puppet. Then, he unconsciously replied, "This old man is old man Gu Qiong. Greetings, haha." Xiao Hua looked at old man Gu Qiong's expression with a faint smile on his face. He raised his right arm slightly, and the mirage butterfly flew out. Then, with a wave of his right hand, the mirage butterfly returned to the space. However, right at this moment, old man Gu Qiong's eyes suddenly spun while bright light shot out from his eyes. A soul sword that was the size of a thumb shot out from the space between his brows and shot towards Xiao Hua like a bolt of lightning. Wherever the soul sword passed by, the colorful fragments that had just fallen into Meng Ping world flew out again. Following the soul sword, it turned into a beautiful arc and pounced toward Xiao Hua. Huh, fellow Taoist Meng is right. Xiao Hua suddenly raised his head and the smile on his face turned into a sneer. In this world, there are many people who have fallen into the demonic path. Instead, there are those who think they are clear-headed. While speaking, a soul thread also appeared between Xiao Hua's eyebrows. Immediately after, the illusion breaker eye opened. A silver-white light pillar was formed and it was precisely hitting the soul sword. Rumble. In the unknown space, a loud rumbling sound resounded. It was even more intense than the shattering of thunder. What was even more intense than the sound of the lightning shattering was Old Man Gu Qiong's mind. Old Man Gu Qiong had practiced the soul sword and naturally knew how dangerous it was. Originally, he was prepared to die together with Meng Ping Tianxia. However, when the silver light fell, it was as if countless small swords were stabbing into his mind. Old Man Gu Qiong's vision turned black and he lost control of his body. However, just as the soul sword and the colorful fragments behind it were about to be destroyed, the silver beam of light suddenly spun and wrapped around the soul sword and the colorful fragments. The soul sword broke free from Old Man Gu Qiong's control and changed its direction. The colorful fragments condensed into a soul sword that was 10 times stronger than before and stabbed towards Old Man Gu Qiong's forehead. Ah! Death had never been so close, and ancient Qiong couldn't help but cry out. He had never thought that the secret technique he had used at the cost of his lifespan would be useless in front of this nameless cultivator who called himself Xiao Hua. Moreover, Xiao Hua's secret technique was like the difference between heaven and earth. Even though Xiao Hua's secret technique hadn't touched his forehead, it had already pulled at his soul. Ancient Qiong sensed that his lifespan was about to collapse. A thought flashed through Old Man Gu Qiong's mind. Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua. Zhang Xiao Hua. Could he be Zhang Xiao Hua? PFFF. The moment the soul sword touched Old Man Gu Qiong's forehead, it immediately retracted. However, a bean-sized drop of blood appeared on the old man's forehead. Old Man Gu Qiong's soul sword remained between his eyebrows. Under the power of the silver light beam, the shattered fragments of the soul sword also condensed into the soul sword. After the delirium breaker eye closed, Xiao Hua said indifferently, "Fellow Taoist Gu Qiong, haven't you been looking for me? Why do you want to kill me when you see me? Could it be that the spirit root selection method I left for the Tao Alliance and the Qi refinement and tribulation transcendence cultivation method were all fake? Could it be that you were only looking for me to kill me?" Xiao Hua had used this method to warn Old Man Gu Qiong. On the one hand, he was angry at Old Man Gu Qiong for attacking him. On the other hand, he wanted to teach the Tao Alliance a lesson. Zhang Xiao Hua. Old Man Gu Qiong felt extremely ashamed. He had never thought that after searching for Zhang Xiaohua for so long, he would actually attack Zhang Xiaohua when she was standing right in front of him. In his days, he had actually called out the word Zhang. After a short while, Old Man Gu Qiong bowed deeply and said, "Junior Gu Qiong greets Senior Xiao. It's all this junior's fault. This junior had eyes but failed to see and almost injured senior. Please punish me, senior. Forget it. Get up." Xiao Hua looked at Old Man Gu Qiong's wrinkled face and white hair. He couldn't bear it and raised his hand. "You should have been vigilant, but you didn't have to kill me right from the start, right?" Yes, I was wrong." Old Man Gu Qiong felt that his words were a little pedantic. Who would hold back in a life or death situation? However, he didn't dare to refute Xiao Hua's words and could only nod submissively. After replying to Xiao Hua, Gu Qiong suddenly came to a realization. In his eyes, it was a matter of life and death, but in Xiao Hua's eyes, it was just a test. Xiao Hua naturally wouldn't kill him. Kaka. At this moment, Old Man Gu Qiong was shocked by the demon sovereign's aura. Don't worry. Xiao Hua said with a smile. He's a good friend of mine. He's proficient in the demon race's cultivation technique. He killed the demon artifact and the demon sovereign today. Let's go. Follow me and save Long Shenxi, who has turned into a demon. Yes, I'll listen to Senior Zhao's orders. Old man Gu Qiong didn't dare to breathe loudly when he saw the demon sovereign flying past him. He knew that Xiao Hua's divine ability was unfathomable, and a demon sovereign from the demon world wasn't someone a late-stage crossing tribulation human cultivator like him could handle. It was true that Meng Ping Tianxia was able to injure the blood shadow archdevil of the demon world, but that wasn't old man Gu Qiong's strength alone. Every archdevil had a different level of strength, and the archdevil in front of him was clearly much stronger than the blood shadow archdevil he had injured. Put away the soul sword. When Xiao Hua saw that the soul sword was still hovering in the air, Gu Qiong old man didn't dare to act rashly. He reminded Xiao Hua, just now, this old man casually added the illusion fragments of your spiritual treasure into the soul sword. Xiao Hua's words shocked old man Gu Qiong. Not only did Xiao Hua fail to destroy the soul sword, but he even added Meng Ping Tianxia's fragment into it. In the end, Xiao Hua didn't treat him as an opponent at all, and he actually wanted to kill Xiao Hua. Old man Gu Qiong couldn't help but kneel and say, "It's all my fault, get up, get up." Xiao Hua didn't dare to make old man Gu Qiong kneel. He hurriedly helped old man Gu Qiong up and said, "I've already said that it's not your fault. How could you see clearly when you were in the situation?" "Yes, yes." Old man Gu Qiong nodded. A ring appeared between his eyebrows and the soul sword entered his mind. Roar. At this moment, a dragon's roar came from the distant horizon. It sounded like a roar, but it also sounded like a scream. Old man Gu Qiong looked up. However, as soon as old man Gu Qiong looked up, his body started to sway and his face turned ghastly pale. Oh. Xiao Hua was taken aback. He glanced at old man Gu Qiong and realized something. He quickly took out a rejuvenation pill and handed it to old man Gu Qiong, saying with concern, "You've lost too much of your lifespan just now, and your soul has been shaken when you used the secret soul cultivation technique. Take this pill and rest here for a while. You don't have to go there immediately." Old man Gu Qiong was completely convinced by Xiao Hua. He took the pill and put it into his mouth without even looking at it. Then, he sat down cross-legged and said sincerely, "I'll rest here and rest. I'll leave everything to you, senior." Xiao Hua responded. He looked at the nearby spatial zone storm that had already calmed down. He didn't need to use his mind to ask the celestial anymore. He already knew that the Kunlun mirror had already controlled the spatial zone crack of the heavenly wind forbidden land. Xiao Hua's figure flashed and he was already high up in the sky. At this moment, Reverend Yun was controlling his dragon body and fighting Long Shenxi playfully. Sure, the Exalted was already standing in midair, looking at Long Shenxi with a pair of blood-red eyes, as if he was thinking about something. Seeing Xiao Hua, Sure the Exalted smiled and said, "Big brother, you're here." Xiao Hua replied. He looked at Reverend Yun and asked curiously, "Why haven't you started yet?" Reverend Yun smiled and said, "My son Mo Ling has something he doesn't understand. He doesn't want Long Shenxi to break free from the devil earlier, so I played with him for a while." "Oh. What is it?" Xiao Hua asked Sure the Exalted. Sure the Exalted answered respectfully, "Big brother, I've devoured that devil. I'm afraid the cause of this matter is beyond your expectation. Previously, I thought it was already good enough to have a devil king in the Yi-Lin continent, where the human race lives in great numbers. Who knew that the devil just now was actually Devil Emperor Jingyu from the eastern Ting Devil region? However, the other devil clans didn't know that this Devil Emperor had sneaked into the Yi-Lin continent, and there was a devil diagram in his memory that I didn't know about. When I was devouring him, the devil diagram accidentally erased more than half of his memory." "What's a devil diagram?" Xiao Hua asked with a frown. Hehe, I forgot to explain. Devil diagram is the devil seal that the human race often calls devil consciousness. It's called devil vision in the devil realm. Sure, the Exalted hurriedly explained. Oh, I understand now, big brother. Xiao Hua nodded. In other words, you don't know why Devil Emperor Jingyu sneaked into the Yi-Lin continent and set up such a trap in this forbidden land of heavenly wind? Sure, the Exalted smiled and said, I know most of the things that I'm not interested in, but I don't know the most important thing. So, I want to see what's so strange about Long Shenxi that Devil Emperor Jingyu is interested in. After that, sure, the Exalted told Xiao Hua everything he knew. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, donate it, and... Chapter 4990. Xiao Hua didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He said helplessly, Big brother, I understand now. It turns out that the Heaven Alliance found a spiritual item here that can make up for one's lifespan. Therefore, they used the mouth of Taoist Master Shiyu, who came back from the Tao Alliance, to pass this information to the Tao Alliance, killing 3 birds with 1 stone. The first was to test whether Taoist Master Shiyu was truly returning. The second was to capture all the supreme cultivators of the Tao Alliance in one fell swoop. The third was to find the spiritual item that could replenish one's lifespan. Sigh. But, to think that the Dragon God would choose Reverend Jin Sheng for such a perfect plan. This Taoist Master Jin Sheng had been possessed by the Jingyu Demon Emperor. After killing 3 birds with 1 stone, he had become the Oriole. If we hadn't come here today, the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance would have been wiped out by the Devil Clan. Speaking of this, Xiao Hua was bewildered again and said curiously, Long Shenxi chose to trust immortal Jin Sheng because he is one of the famous refining masters in the Heavenly Alliance. Secondly, he has the highest cultivation level among the refining masters, which is at the late stage of the Tao integration stage. Logically speaking, the possibility of him being possessed by the Devil Clan is extremely small. Thirdly, immortal Jin Sheng also knows the refining technique of soul cultivators. Soul cultivators can be regarded as one of the nemesis of the Devil Clan. Big brother, don't forget, as the saying goes, the devil is 10 times taller. Demon Lord Shi laughed heartily. Ordinary demon emperors are only at the 8th level of essence energy. Compared to the 9th level of essence energy, the difference is huge. If Jingyu Demon Emperor were to fight with Reverend Jin Sheng, Jingyu Demon Emperor would definitely not be a match for Reverend Jin Sheng. But possession isn't a fight. We demons have plenty of ways to possess humans. Big brother, don't forget that humans have unimaginable desires. Yeah. Xiao Hua already understood. He nodded and said, although Taoist Master Jin Sheng is a supreme cultivator in the late stage of the Tao integration stage, he still has a desire in his heart that surpasses the 9th stage of origin power. Jingyu Demon Emperor isn't fighting alone. He's conspiring with another Taoist Master Jin Sheng to possess his body. This is also the reason why the Tao sect values the Tao heart, Tao foundation, and even the Tao realm. Demon Venerable Shi smiled. Xiao Hua smiled and asked, then tell me, what is the Tao heart, what is the Tao foundation, and what is the Tao realm? How would little brother know? Demon Lord Shi looked at Long Shenxi in the distance and laughed bitterly, Big brother, you have to ask Long Shenxi, right? At this point, Demon Lord Shi smiled and asked, then, Big brother, what do you mean by Tao heart, Tao realm and Tao foundation? To be honest, I don't know either. Xiao Hua laughed loudly, not hiding his thoughts at all as he spoke. Demon Venerable Shi rubbed his blood-red nose. His expression was quite similar to Xiao Hua's. He asked curiously, Big brother is a human race great saint who is about to ascend. You don't even know the simplest and most basic things. Of course, what's so strange about that? Xiao Hua replied matter-of-factly, Big brother has been cultivating Tao sect cultivation techniques for so many years. Didn't you just find out who is the Tao sovereign and who is the Tao ancestor? Don't look at the Tao heart, Tao realm and Tao foundation. It seems that anyone can answer these questions. Anyone who teaches Tao can talk for 3 days and 3 nights. But who knows if what they say is true? Just like Jing Yu Demon Emperor's plot. You already know that he has a plot, and it already exists. You even have a plan in your heart. You have been talking to Big Brother for so long, but you don't know if what you say is true or not. I'm afraid that only when you go to Dong Ting Demon territory and find Blood Shadow Demon Venerable, who you suspect, will you be able to find out the real source of this plot. Even if you find the so-called source of the plot, will it be true? Ugh. Demon Lord Shi hurriedly waved his hand and said, Big Brother, if you want to debate, you should go and chat with Big Brother Buddha. He likes your style more. If you have the time, you should go and deal with Long Shensi. That old man Gu Qiong is already here. Xiao Hua looked up. Sure enough, old man Gu Qiong seemed to be worried and had already flown over. However, his complexion was already very good. All right. Xiao Hua nodded. He soared into the sky and shouted, Fellow Taoist Yun, I will lend you a hand. Huh, why would I need your help to deal with a descendant of a dragon who has turned into a demon? Reverend Yun gave a loud laugh. A golden light burst out from his body as the dragon tail flipped up and smashed onto Long Shensi's dragon blood avatar with a loud boom. Oh whoa! The dragon blood avatar howled and showed signs of collapsing. But, the fiend runes on its surface rose again, and very soon, the cracks were mended. Seeing this, Reverend Yun smiled. He knew that he had the body of a true dragon, and using his body to fight against the dragon blood Dharma body was the most direct and effective way. He was sure that he could defeat the dragon blood Dharma body in less than 3 times. Of course, defeating the dragon blood Dharma body would cause the greatest damage to Long Shensi, and the fiend runes could even seize his body. This was not what Xiao Hua wanted. Therefore, he opened his mouth and cast the obscure heavenly dragon speech magic. The laws of heaven and earth within 1,000 miles began to change, as if the power of heaven and earth was being bound around Long Shensi. Xiao Hua did not know whether to laugh or cry. Fellow Taoist Yun, you are making a mountain out of a molehill, aren't you? Why are you using the heavenly dragon speech magic? Fine, let's see I's way of subduing a dragon. Humph. Reverend Yun withdrew the heavenly dragon speech magic and said disdainfully, Your way of subduing a dragon is to win people over with virtue. Who doesn't know that? Ha, it's good that you know it. Xiao Hua laughed and waved his right hand. A deafening rumble shook the entire forbidden land of heavenly wind as countless thunderbolts began to gather. Some were the divine thunders of the 9 heavens, some were the Yin thunders of 3 corpses, some were the righteous thunders of 5 elements, some were the dark underworld fiend thunders, and some were the amplified thunders of 3 lights. Reverend Yun and Shi were used to Xiao Hua's hand of thunder, so they did not think much of it. But when old man Gu Qiong saw it, he was struck dumb again. He had seen the hand of nascent soul and nascent divinity, but these divine abilities could only transform into the size of a few acres. When had he ever seen a hand of thunder that was 100 miles wide? Moreover, he was still far away from the hand of thunder, and the enormous force had already passed through the void and stopped him. He could not imagine how Long Shensi would feel under the hand of thunder. How could Long Shensi feel? The power of life and death in the hand of thunder had completely covered his body, nascent divinity, dragon blood Dharma body, and even his fiend marks and fiend energies. It was as if the heaven and earth had been sealed, and the primordial chaos had ended. He could not even think. With the fiend marks under control, Long Shensi regained his consciousness. A thought that went deep into his bones came into his mind, damn it. Could it be that an immortal has descended to the mortal realm? This is a divine ability that has surpassed the laws of heaven and earth on the Yi-Lin continent. Boom! 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 The hand of thunder struck 3 times, and the entire forbidden land of heavenly wind shook 3 times. Long Shenxi's dragon blood Dharma body was also squeezed to the size of an ordinary person, and its light dimmed a little as it coiled above Long Shenxi's head. Long Shenxi. Xiao Hua looked at Long Shenxi and said in a voice as loud as thunder, "You have the mark of the demon race in your bloodline. Now that the mark of the demon race has been activated, you have 2 choices. One is to let the mark of the demon race take over your body and you will become a complete demon race. At that time, your strength should be 30% stronger than it is now. Even the so-called passing of your lifespan will no longer exist for you. Oh, of course, you don't have to be afraid. This old man will not do anything to you. Moreover, this old man has a good friend who cultivates fiend arts, and he will help you. 2. If you are willing, this old man can remove the fiend qi that has invaded your bloodline. At the same time, I can use a secret technique to erase the fiend mark in your bloodline, and you can still be a pure human. However, at that time, your strength will be 30% weaker than it is now, and you will only be at the void refinement realm. Even your dragon blood Dharma body may disappear. As for what path you will take, you can decide for yourself. Senior, who are you? Long Shenxi did not answer directly. Instead, he looked at Xiao Hua and asked in a low voice. This old man is Xiao Hua, and my Dharma name is Daoist Xiao. Xiao Hua knew that Long Shenxi was not at ease, so he calmly replied, "Of course, you can also call this old man Zhang Xiaohua, hiss." Long Shenxi sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Xiao Hua in disbelief. He cried out, "So, you are Zhang Daoist Xiao. I have searched for him thousands of times in the crowd, but when I look back, that person is in the waning light." It's true. My Heaven Alliance has been searching for Senior for so long, and Senior has indeed appeared at such a critical moment. I have searched for him thousands of times in the crowd, but when I look back, that person is in the waning light. Xiao Hua was a little puzzled and asked, "What do you mean?" However, Long Shenxi did not answer Xiao Hua's question. Instead, he looked at Xiao Hua and asked, "Senior, have the last 3 realms of the primordial spirit cultivation technique been perfected?" Perfected. Xiao Hua nodded. As long as you recover your human bloodline, this old man will immediately give it to you. Senior, if this junior is possessed, will I be like Taoist Master Jinsheng, and have to listen to the orders of the demon race? Long Shenxi asked again. Hearing Long Shenxi's answer, Xiao Hua's heart thumped. He already understood what Long Shenxi meant. In his heart, he hoped that Long Shenxi would wipe away the mark of the demon race and become a clean human. Furthermore, he was also willing to help him recover his original strength. However, Xiao Hua was still willing to respect Long Shenxi's choice. He replied honestly, "You can rest assured about this. The mark of the demon race in your bloodline is originally yours. When this old man said that you will be possessed, it is actually from the perspective of the human race. Rather than saying that you will be possessed, it is better to say that you will return to your original state. Your previous cultivation experience and everything that you have experienced in the Yi-Lin continent will not be lost. You will step into another world." P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote, vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark, gift, and thank all forms of support. Chapter 4991. Then, Xiao Hua turned to Reverend Yun and said, "Fellow Taoist, please confine the surrounding space. Don't let old man Gu Qiong come here, no problem." Reverend Yun whispered a few words, and a dragon barrier was formed. Old man Gu Qiong, who was blocked by Xiao Hua's thunderous palm, could not move even an inch. "Thank you, Senior, for saving face for me and my descendants." A look of gratitude appeared on Long Shenxi's face. He wanted to kneel down, but under the thunderous hand, he could do nothing but speak. Therefore, he pleaded again, "If Senior has the time, I hope Senior can go to Dragon God Mountain and help Junior see if there are any other descendants like me. I can't agree to this request. Xiaohua shook his head and said, I don't have much time, and, to be honest, it's already good that you're the only one in this world. It's unlikely that there will be a second one like you. Hehe, you're right. Long Shenxi understood and said with a smile, if there were a second one, Reverend Jin Xing wouldn't have come to me. Xiaohua's expression remained unchanged as he urged, the other cultivators of the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance are here. If you've made up your mind, tell me at once. Otherwise, I can only let you be a human. I choose to be a demon. Long Shenxi's feelings were the same as Xiaohua's. He was reluctant to give up his identity as a human. After all, he had lived for hundreds of thousands of years, and everything about the human race was engraved in his heart. He might not covet the increase in strength or the increase in lifespan, but he clearly knew the consequences of a decline in his strength. What about the position of the Heaven Alliance's leader? What about the position in the sect? What about the clan? What about the old enemies? There might not be many people who would add flowers to a brocade, but there were certainly many who would hit a man when he was down. It was better to have a Heaven Alliance's leader, whose name would go down in history, than to have Long Shenxi, whose reputation was fading. Therefore, Long Shenxi did not choose the human race as Xiaohua expected. I respect your choice. Xiaohua nodded faintly, then secretly released the Mengyi butterfly and said to Reverend Yun, fellow Taoist, you can remove the barrier and let the other cultivators in. All right. Reverend Yun nodded in agreement. Suddenly, Xiaohua's thunderous palm unleashed a blinding thunderbolt, while he bellowed, Long Shenxi, have you come to your senses? If you continue to sink into the demonic path, I won't be able to help you. Although Xiaohua's hand of thunder and lightning surged into the sky, the Tao of life and death within it had already been unleashed. Long Shenxi's dragon blood Dharma body charged out once again. The devil runes had already seeped into the surface of the dragon blood Dharma body as if they were carved by a knife. Dense devil chi and blood smoke began to cover the Dharma body. Ha ha ha. Who was Long Shenxi? Who are you? How dare you stop me? The dragon blood Dharma body roared unyieldingly. Although the voice belonged to the dragon god, it was devoid of any human emotions. Sigh. Xiaohua knew that he was putting on an act, but the emotions in his words were real. Since it has come to this point, even if this old man wants to let you go, I'm afraid I can't. Just because you're the Alliance Master of the Heaven Alliance, this old man can't possibly allow a possessed demon to remain in the Yilin continent. Since you've made your choice, don't regret it. Roar. 2 drops of tears flowed out of the dragon god's eyes as he gave a loud roar and charged towards Xiaohua. He knew very well that from this moment on, this supreme cultivator of the human race, Long Shenxi, would no longer exist in this world. Everything in this world would have nothing to do with him. Senior. At this point in time, all the cultivators of the Heaven Alliance and Tao Alliance had arrived. They had witnessed the madness of Long Shenxi and the mercy of Xiaohua. Bright Moon Householder, Yang Xia, Kong Chang, and Holy Mother of Earth Spirit opened their mouths, wanting to implore Xiaohua to show mercy. But, they only said 2 words and then shut their mouths. Apart from Xiaohua, who else could be a match for the Alliance Master of the Heaven Alliance who had fallen into the demonic path? If they didn't ask Xiaohua to help them, who else could do it in the future? In the face of righteousness, everyone knew what to do. Boom. Xiaohua's lightning hand did not disappoint them in the slightest. Blood splattered everywhere the large hand grabbed, and there was even a primordial spirit that was dyed pitch black and blood red flying out from within the blood light. However, a demonic pillar that descended soon after dispelled everyone's worries. That demonic pillar covered the blood light and the primordial spirit, and a gigantic tornado-like suction force brought the scattered demonic chi into the demonic godlike body of the Overlord Demon Lord. When Xiaohua's lightning hand dissipated, everything related to Long Shensi had turned into smoke and clouds. Alas! Xiao Hua let out a long sigh and withdrew all his divine powers. He wanted to return to his original form, but under the remnant laws of heaven and earth in the 10,000 demon realm, he could only transform into a Dharma body that was hundreds of feet tall. Xiao Hua landed on the ground, and old man Gu Qiong had already come over to greet him. Xiao Hua's face was filled with true melancholy as he cupped his hands and said, "I'm sorry, I broke my promise." "You're too kind." Since old man Gu Qiong could activate the dream of the world, he naturally had the ability to see through the illusion. However, this time, he clearly saw that under the thunderous hand, everything was obliterated, and Long Shensi's primordial spirit was devoured by the terrifying demon venerable next to him. He didn't dare to doubt anything, so he hurriedly bowed and said, "We have to thank you, Senior." However, old man Gu Qiong said awkwardly, "Senior, please don't blame me. I said it from the perspective of the Taoist faction, not the Taoist alliance. Bright Moon Householder of the Heavenly Alliance can explain the specific situation." "Well, that's fine." Xiao Hua nodded. "However, you have to be a witness. After all, Long Shensi is the leader of the Heavenly Alliance, Senior, please rest assured." Old man Gu Qiong looked at the people of the Heavenly Alliance who were flying over from afar and replied, "After all, they all saw that Long Shensi fell into the trap of the demon clan. Anyone would attack a demonized Long Shensi. Moreover, to be honest, if you didn't help us today, I'm afraid we wouldn't be able to deal with a demonized Long Shensi." After a short while, Bright Moon Householder arrived with the members of the Heavenly Alliance, and Daoist Ji Yen arrived with the members of the Dao Alliance. Everyone witnessed Xiao Hua crushing the demonic dragon god-child's divine might with a single palm strike, and none of them dared to be negligent. They stood in midair and bowed respectfully, "Greetings, Senior Xiao." "Greetings, Seniors." Bright Moon Householder led the members of the Heavenly Alliance to greet Elder Gu Qiong first, while Ji Yen took the opportunity to fly to Elder Gu Qiong's side to greet Elder Gu Qiong again. "You all can get up." Xiao Hua wasn't surprised. He raised his hand to help the supreme cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance and Taoist Alliance up and said, "What happened today was just a coincidence, but it was also inevitable. Since I ran into you, it means I'm also fated to meet you. I'll listen to your explanation." "Yes, I understand." The Heavenly Alliance was the instigator, and Bright Moon Householder didn't dare to neglect this matter. He replied respectfully, "I will surely report the whole sequence of events to all of you." You can tell us now." The Thunderbolt Immortal became impatient when he saw these cultivators being so respectful. He looked into the distance and said, "Fellow Daoist Heavenly Dao is controlling the Kunlun mirror alone over there. I'm afraid he's not strong enough. Let's go and help him." All right." Xiao Hua nodded and said with a smile, "After all, the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Area is a realm crack, but I'm afraid fellow Daoist Heavenly Dao can't deal with the power of an entire realm alone. Thank you for your help. Let's go." The Thunderbolt Immortal waved his hand, and Daoist Witch, Reverend Yun, and the others whistled away, leaving the restless crowd behind. "Senior." Old man Gu Qiong asked tentatively, "Do you want us to go and help him?" "Your strength." Forget it." Xiao Hua said with a smile, "Besides, you'll consume your lifespan if you use your magic power. How can I trouble you?" Yes. Old man Gu Qiong smiled apologetically. Then, he rolled his eyes and begged in a low voice, "Senior, can you give some of the pills you just gave me, to the juniors of the Heavenly Alliance and the Dao Alliance?" Old man Gu Qiong wanted to mention the Dao Alliance, but when he saw Xiao Hua asking the Heavenly Alliance to stay, he knew that Xiao Hua wanted to protect the juniors of the Dao Alliance. Therefore, he hurriedly mentioned the Heavenly Alliance as well. The people of the Heavenly Alliance looked at Xiao Hua and old man Gu Qiong in confusion. "It's not easy to refine these pills. Otherwise, I'll give you the recipe as well." Xiao Hua said as he took out the rejuvenation pill from his space. Xiao Hua knew that the rejuvenation pill could only restore youth for cultivators below the spirit-severing stage. For the supreme cultivators of the Yilan continent like Old Man Gu Qiong, the rejuvenation pill could only replenish their lifespan. Seeing this, Old Man Gu Qiong hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Since this pill is so precious, please forgive me, A pill that replenishes lifespan?" Not to mention Bright Moon Householder, even Reverend Ji Yan's eyes lit up. Everyone looked at Xiao Hua anxiously. "Oh, it's okay," Xiao Hua said as he waved his Taoist robe. A jade bottle appeared in front of everyone. "What I mean is that only I can refine these pills. Even if you take the recipe, it's useless. Junior will accept it." Old Man Gu Qiong took the jade bottle and said respectfully. "Hee, you're welcome. You don't have much lifespan left, so you should take some more," Xiao Hua said as he thoughtfully gave another jade bottle to Old Man Gu Qiong. "Senior." Old Man Gu Qiong suddenly choked with sobs. He hadn't experienced the feeling of being cared for by others for tens of thousands of years. Now that he felt it again and again, he couldn't hide his feelings. Xiao Hua said with a serious face, "I'm giving you this pill not only for the sake of the Yilan continent. Long Shenxi has died because of the devil. You're probably the strongest person in the Heavenly Alliance and Taoist Alliance on the Yilan continent. I think you have a good heart. You even spoke up for me at the Taoist Alliance's meeting. Therefore, I hope you can act impartially and consider the overall situation of the Taoist Alliance. P.S. Fellow cultivators who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip." Chapter 4992. Ji Yanjunren and the others blushed, and the jade bottle in their hands was as hot as charcoal. However, when they stole a glance at Bright Moon Householder's expression, Ji Yanjunren was slightly relieved. He knew that the Heavenly Alliance was not much stronger than him. Elder Gu Qiong took the jade bottle and saluted respectfully, "Since I have taken your elixir, I will do my best for the stability of the Yilin continent." However, after saying that, Elder Gu Qiong changed his mind and said, "Of course, since you have shown up, the Tao Alliance and the Heavenly Alliance will follow your lead. I am an outsider, and so are the rest of you. We won't stay in the Yilin continent for long, so you don't have to consider us." Xiao Hua understood what Elder Gu Qiong meant. He waved his hand and said with a smile, "You can take the elixir as a gift for my first meeting with you." "Yes, thank you, Senior." Everyone was relieved and took the rejuvenation elixir with gratitude and regret. "Senior." Ji Yanjunren plucked up his courage and asked tentatively, "Are you a cultivator from the Lost Land?" As expected, there are smart people here." Xiao Hua laughed loudly, "This old man's origins have been discovered by you all. Come, sit down and talk." After saying that, Xiao Hua raised his hand and pointed. Dozens of jade tables and futons appeared out of thin air. Then, as Xiao Hua waved his Taoist robe, spiritual fruits, spiritual wine, and other things also appeared. Seeing that, everyone was even more shocked. They knew that, as the supreme cultivators of the Yilin continent, they could make something out of nothing with their understanding of the laws of heaven and earth in other places of the Yilin continent. However, they were in the forbidden land of heaven and earth. Although Xiao Hua had set up a bounded domain, the laws of heaven and earth in the Yilin continent were chaotic, and the laws of heaven and earth in the 10,000 demon realm were even more unruly. Without a deep understanding of the laws of heaven and earth, it was impossible to make these jade tables and futons out of thin air. This kind of magical ability was even more powerful than Xiao Hua's ability to crush Long Shenxi with his own strength. Of course, everyone also understood the meaning of Xiao Hua's intimidation, so no one dared to say anything. They hurriedly bowed and obediently sat down, quietly listening to Xiao Hua's explanation. When Xiao Hua saw that everyone had sat down, he raised his cup and said, "Ladies and gentlemen, you are the hosts of the Yi-Lin continent, and this old man is a guest. This old man has not been invited to the Yi-Lin continent, and has rashly passed through the Yi-Lin continent. Of course, this old man has offended you somewhat. This old man will first toast to everyone, as a form of thanks and an apology." Once Xiao Hua's words came out, how could anyone still sit down? They all stood up and picked up their wine cups, saying, "Senior, you are too courteous. Since this is a lost land, it is also a part of the Yi-Lin continent. Senior is naturally the owner, there is no need to be so, come, please." Xiao Hua said with a smile, "This is spirit wine brewed from the immortal peaches of Imperial Empress Confucianism, and it has the ability to replenish one's lifespan. Everyone, there's no need to worry about anything." Hearing that the spirit wine could also replenish one's lifespan, Old Man Gu Qiong and the others were overjoyed and drank a cup with Xiao Hua. After putting down the wine cup, everyone sat down cross-legged and closed their eyes to adjust their breathing. In just a moment, everyone's faces were filled with joy. When everyone opened their eyes, Xiao Hua raised his cup again and said, "Since everyone has just said that the Lost Land is a part of the Yi-Lin continent, then regardless of whether it is the Tao Alliance or the Heaven Alliance, you are also the masters of the Yi-Lin continent. This old man thanks you for everything you have done for the Tao sect all these years. This toast is to all of you, and also to the previous seniors of the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance. Thank you, senior." All the cultivators were happy and raised their cups. After drinking the third cup, Xiao Hua stood up. Everyone knew what Xiao Hua was going to say, so they hurriedly stood up and waited for Xiao Hua to speak. Xiao Hua opened his mouth and wanted to reprimand them, but he swallowed his words. After all, they were all supreme cultivators of the Yi-Lin continent, and they might not be younger than him. If they wanted to hear what he wanted to say, he didn't even need to say it because they already knew what he wanted to say. However, if they didn't want to hear what he wanted to say, they might not listen to him even if he wanted to say it. What he had more than them, was the responsibility of saving the world. What he had more than them was his experience in the 10,000 demon realm. Therefore, Xiao Hua thought for a moment and said, "Everyone, please sit down." Everyone was puzzled, but they still sat down. Xiao Hua placed the wine cup on the jade table and glanced at the supreme cultivators one by one. He said, "I'm drinking this third cup because I hope that the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance can reconcile and focus on the development of our Tao sect. However, I think that if I force you to form an alliance, even if you agree and drink the third cup, you won't be convinced. After I leave, you will take action again. Not only will my efforts be in vain, but you might also hurt the party who is willing to form an alliance. Therefore, let's wait for a while and make a decision after I tell you about my experience. What do you think?" Old Man Gu Qiong looked at Ji Yan's spiritual master and the others and nodded. He said, "We are willing to listen to Senior's arrangement." Bright Moon Householder didn't want to fall behind and said with a smile, "We are also, very good." Xiao Hua said and pointed at the peach on the jade table. He said, "This is the peach used to make wine. Taste it first, and I will tell you about it later." Then, Xiao Hua told them about the situation of the Dawn Rain continent, the situation of the 3 continents, and his experience in the 10,000 demon realm. Old Man Gu Qiong and the others were dumbfounded. They even forgot about the peach. They didn't expect that Xiao Hua, a great sage of the human clan who was listed in the 10,000 demon realm saint list, was a cultivator who had cultivated for less than 1,000 years. They didn't even expect that there was a mysterious immortal array between the 3 continents and the Yi-Lin continent. On the other side of the immortal array, there were Confucian cultivators, Buddhist sect, and the demon clan. There was even a Tao sect whose orthodoxy was almost destroyed. After he finished speaking, Xiao Hua listened for a moment and looked at the crowd again. He said, "Everyone, think about it. The Dawn Rain continent is a lost land. The famous big sect of the country of Shi, the Imperial Thunder sect, is not as big as the small Chanha sect of the Tao Alliance of the Yi-Lin continent. The Dawn Rain continent lacks all kinds of cultivation methods and elixir recipes. It might not even have a Mahayana cultivator. What about the Tao sects of the three continents? They have cultivation methods and elixir recipes, but they don't have an environment to cultivate. The Buddhist sect, Confucian cultivators, and the demon clan are like three mountains pressing down on them. They don't even have a chance to turn things around. In the 10,000 demon realm, there are no humans, only demon spirits. The humans that this old man brought with the Kunlun mirror have probably been discovered by the demon spirits. They are in danger of being exterminated. If they don't develop, they will soon disappear from the 10,000 demon realm. Let's not talk about the Tao sects, let's talk about the humans. Xiaohua continued, although the human clan of the hidden immortal continent and the Pure Land world are Confucian cultivators and Buddhist cultivators, they are still humans, living humans. Right now, they are in an abyss of suffering, in a situation where they are constantly being killed by the strange insects from the upper realm. Their hope seems to be placed on me and the other fellow Taoists, but in reality, they don't have much hope. After all, breaking the immortal formation isn't something that can be easily done by the cultivators from the mortal realm. But they haven't given up hope and are still fighting against the world-exterminating ephemera. What are they fighting against? The reproduction of the human race, the survival of the human race. Look at all of you, look at the prosperous Yi-Lin continent of our Tao sects, what are you all doing? You have more cultivation methods than the abandoned land, too many elixir recipes, too many magic treasures. You can cultivate whatever you want, but what do you do after you cultivate? After you succeed in cultivating, you kill. Tao sects cultivators. On the hidden immortal continent, what does an excellent Tao sects cultivator face? It is the suppression of Confucian cultivators, Buddhist sects, and the demon clan. It is possible that he will die before he can cultivate to the nascent soul stage. What do the cultivators of the Yi-Lin continent have to face? It is the cultivation of the sect, the Tao Alliance, or the Heaven Alliance. He may cultivate to the Mahayana stage. But what if he cultivates to the Mahayana stage? What is he doing? What he does, is still killing Tao sect's disciples. What about the 10,000 demon realm? This old man won't talk about it. The human race is fighting for survival, and they have too much to do. At this point, Xiaohua suddenly felt a little tired. He waved his hand and said weakly, "This old man doesn't want to say more. After all, you don't know this, but, you are all humans. Although you have the inheritance of a Tao master and a Tao ancestor, you are both Tao sects inheritances. You can't write two Tao characters. Even if you are fighting for one Tao character, you can't kill each other. Moreover, when this old man entered the heavenly wind forbidden land, I met a dead Mahayana cultivator. Who is this old man?" Before he died, he shouted. "Don't kill each other. Everyone, kill each other. We are from the same root, so why are you in such a hurry to kill each other? This wine. Just leave it here. This old man won't persuade you to drink. If you want to drink, drink. If you don't want to drink, this old man won't force you. Everyone has their own ambitions, and everyone has their own path of cultivation. This Yi-Lin continent belongs to you, not this old man. You can decide for yourselves where you want to go." Senior. Old man Gu Qiong and the others were moved. They stood up and said, "It's all our fault. We are sorry to the ancestors of Tao sects, sorry to Senior, and sorry to Shi Yu." After saying that, old man Gu Qiong knelt down. Xiaohua was shocked and hurriedly tried to help him up. However, he didn't help him up. Old man Gu Qiong raised his wine cup and said to the sky, "I, Gu Qiong, swear to the Tao master of the Taoist sect that from now on, I will no longer regard the Heavenly Alliance as the Tao Alliance, nor will I start a war between the Heavenly Alliance and the Tao Alliance. From now on, the Tao Alliance is willing to join hands with the Heavenly Alliance again and face each other calmly as brothers in order to overcome the tribulation of heaven and earth. If I violate this oath. P.S. Fellow cultivators who like this book, please subscribe to it at Chidian, vote for it, give it a reward, and Chapter 4993. After old man Gu Qiong made the blood oath, he drank all the spiritual wine in his cup. Then, he stood up proudly as if he had put down a heavy burden. Bright Moon Householder didn't hesitate, and he also knelt on the ground. He raised his wine cup, and swore to the Heavenly Alliance, Bright Moon, swear to the Tao Sect's Tao ancestor in front of Senior Shao that from today onwards, I won't dare to treat the Tao Alliance as the Heavenly Alliance, and I won't dare to start a war between the Heavenly Alliance and the Tao Alliance. My Heavenly Alliance is willing to join hands with the Tao Alliance again, and we will face each other with brotherly affection. If I violate this oath. Bright Moon Householder's words were the same as old man Gu Qiong's, but his tone was slightly different. After he made the blood oath, he also drank all the spiritual wine. Venerable Ji Yen and the other cultivators of the Tao faction and the Heavenly Alliance weren't as far-sighted as Xiaohua. However, they also saw the need to reconcile after Venerable Shi Yu's death. Therefore, they didn't hesitate and knelt down to make the oath. However, Yang Xia was a little special. He didn't say Tao Master or Tao faction, but Tao Master. Xiaohua understood and didn't ask any more questions. In the end, when everyone stood up, Xiaohua picked up his wine cup and knelt down to the sky, saying, Junior Xiaohua thanks Tao Ancestor and Tao Master for their gifts once again. Junior will definitely pass on the wishes and gifts of the other Tao sect disciples to the Yilin continent. In addition, Junior has never seen Tao Master's true appearance, but Junior will not disregard Tao Master's orthodoxy. Based on the cultivation method of the 9 transformations golden pill and what Junior has learned, I will also point out the cultivation direction of the Yilin continent's disciples. Junior also swears here that no matter when, no matter where, Junior will always be a disciple of Taoism. Junior will always place the inheritance of Taoism first. Junior will never kill anyone. Sect is a disciple of Taoism in this world. After Xiaohua finished speaking, he didn't even have time to drink the wine. Suddenly, a voice sounded and a vast light flew out of Xiaohua's body. Wasn't that the Tao Master? Tao Master. Old man Gu Qiong and the others were dumbfounded. Their memories of the Tao Alliance conference suddenly came back to them, and they didn't dare to be negligent. They hurriedly knelt and kowtowed. Unfortunately, the statue of the Tao sovereign was just an illusion. It didn't care about them at all and rushed up into the sky. The gloominess that was originally covered by the laws of heaven and earth, that even Xiaohua couldn't expel, immediately disappeared. The Tao sovereign once again turned into light fragments and scattered in all directions and disappeared. When they saw this, how could Gu Qiong and the others dare to doubt Xiaohua's words in the slightest? However, before old man Gu Qiong and the others could get up, another boundless figure flew out from Xiaohua's body. Wasn't that the Tao ancestor? Tao ancestor. Bright Moon Householder, Yang Xia, and the others, who were still hesitating whether they should kneel or not, didn't dare to treat him with disrespect, and they hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed. The Tao ancestor was similar to the Tao venerable, and he only uttered a single word before he soared into the sky and turned into fragments of fireflies that scattered in the horizon. The Tao venerable and the Tao ancestor had left, and the chaotic laws of the heavenly wind forbidden land fell down again. However, old man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder still didn't dare to get up. They were afraid that another Tao master would fly out from Xiaohua's body. Xiaohua raised his cup and signaled to the sky. He drank it in one gulp, then stood up and said, "Everyone, please get up. I've only seen the wills of the Tao ancestor and the Tao venerable. I've never seen the Tao master. He won't fly out of my body. Yang Xia knew that this was an opportunity, and he hurriedly got up and presented several jade slips to Xiaohua. He said respectfully, "Senior, this is the 9 transformation golden core cultivation technique that the Xian Alliance practiced in the Yilan continent. Senior, please modify it." The Xian Alliance? Xiaohua was taken aback, and he smiled bitterly. He took the jade slips and asked, "There used to be a Xian Alliance in the Yilan continent. What about now? Where did the Xian Alliance go?" Just as Yang Xia was about to answer, Xiaohua came back to his senses, and he hurriedly raised his hand and said, "Everyone, please get up. We are disciples of the Dao faction, and we don't have any grudges against each other anymore." Even the Dao ancestor and the Dao venerable praised the alliance between the Heavenly Alliance and the Dao faction. "So, how can we go against our 2 ancestors? Hee, I certainly don't dare." Old man Gu Qiong laughed happily, and he walked toward Bright Moon Householder. He stretched out his hand and said, "Bright Moon, I didn't expect that I would have a chance to join hands with you." Bright Moon Householder didn't hesitate, and he raised his hand and shook old man Gu Qiong's hand. He sighed and said, "Senior, we should have joined hands long ago. If we hadn't joined hands with you, our Dao faction would have been exterminated. We wouldn't have had any other path to take." Both of them shook hands, and this moment would be engraved in the history of the Dao faction in the Yilan continent. Alas, as long as we are alive, as long as we join hands, there's no such thing as sooner or later. Yang Xia sighed, and he looked at Reverend Ji Yen. He also raised his hand and said, "It's a pity that Shiyu, that's right." Reverend Ji Yan's face was even more sorrowful. He shook Yang Xia's hand and said, "It's a pity that this child wanted to be reincarnated into a world without Dao factions, and we couldn't satisfy him. Hee, you don't have to worry about that." Xiaohua raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Shiyu, right? I've already satisfied his request, so you don't have to worry." Xiaohua's words were really shocking. Reverend Ji Yen and Yang Xia shouted in disbelief, "What? Senior, what do you mean? You don't need to know what I mean." Xiaohua blinked his eyes and said with a smile, "You just need to know that I can satisfy his wish with my divine ability. You'd better sit down and tell me that it's the Xian Alliance." Reverend Ji Yen and Yang Xia looked at each other, and they bowed at the same time and said, "So that's how it is, then we thank Senior Xiao on behalf of Shiyu." Then, everyone sat down, and Yang Xia roughly told them about the Xian Alliance. Xiaohua's face was also sad. He finally understood why the Swift Cherry Grand Sage didn't want the human clan to reproduce in the 10,000 demon realm. It turned out that she had already suffered a great loss. However, when he thought about how the 10,000 demon realm had killed so many cultivators of the Xian Alliance, Xiaohua's guilt for bringing the human clan over had long disappeared. Heaven and earth were heartless and treated all living things as straw dogs. All living things were survival of the fittest. As a human, Xiaohua could certainly judge others by his own standards and consider the 10,000 demon realms demons. However, when it came to a critical moment, he still had to think for the human clan. Perhaps, it's time to consider how to bring the human clan of the 4 great continents to the 10,000 demon realm. This thought involuntarily appeared in Xiaohua's mind. Unfortunately, after a short moment, he strangled this thought to death. Xiaohua wasn't a Dao sovereign, nor was he a Dao ancestor. How could he accomplish something that even a Dao lord couldn't? "Tell me about Shiyu. What's going on?" Xiaohua asked again after listening. "Shiyu." Yang Xia's face turned a little ugly at the mention of Shiyu. Previously, he wanted to evade Xiaohua several times, but it seemed that Xiaohua was determined to cause trouble. Thus, he looked at Ji Yanjunren. Ji Yanjunren's face was even darker than Yang Xia's. Although the two of them had sworn an alliance and wouldn't really do anything, the resentment in his heart wouldn't be resolved by a few words from Xiaohua. Therefore, Ji Yanjunren's eyes turned as if there was a beautiful woman beside him. Yang Xia was helpless. After all, he was the instigator. He coughed and explained the cause of the matter. When Yang Xia was speaking, no one uttered a word. Apart from Yang Xia, the three people of the Heaven Alliance, Bright Moon Householder, Kong Chang, and Earth Spirit Goddess, the six people of the Tao Alliance, Old Man Gu Qiong, Ji Yan Jinren, Yi Clan's ancestor, Wanderer Fu Bo, Yu Hongzi, and Fairy Mo Yun. Which one of them hadn't done such a thing? Yang Xia was only mentioned by Xiao Hua. If it were someone else, they might have said more. After Yang Xia finished speaking, Xiao Hua looked at Ji Yan Jinren calmly and asked, Ji Yan, what about you? Ji Yan Jinren bit his lips lightly and replied sincerely, I told you before that when Shiyu left, I told him to put his own safety first and focus on his cultivation first, alas. Old Man Gu Qiong sighed and waved his hand. You don't have to say any more. I saw the whole story clearly. Shiyu is a good boy with deep feelings. He understood the intentions of the masters on both sides and wanted the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance to reconcile. Unfortunately, his words carried little weight and he was just a chess piece. Even if he spoke, no one would listen to him. However, he didn't want to disappoint the masters on both sides. In the end, he had no choice but to force himself into a dead end. That's right. Ji Yan Jinren nodded. If it were someone else, they would have had a choice. However, this boy. He really made my heart ache. Bright Moon Householder looked all around and said, only 10 or 20% of the Heavenly Alliance and Tao Alliance's leaders have gathered here today, and there are some matters that we can't decide today. Although we can't make a decision today, I promise you as the deputy leader of the Heaven Alliance that we'll hold a meeting today and ask all the sects to recall their disciples immediately. Good. Old Man Gu Qiong clapped his hands and said, since you're so sincere, I'll make a statement on behalf of the disciples of the Tao Alliance. The Tao Alliance will also recall their disciples as soon as possible. Wait. Xiao Hua was very happy to hear that the two alliances were reconciling. However, he suddenly interrupted them. Oh. Startled, everyone stopped talking and looked at Xiao Hua. At this time, Xiao Hua had almost become the incarnation of a Tao master and a Tao ancestor. No one dared to slack off in front of him. Xiao Hua said with a smile, the disciples that you sent to each other's immortal alliances were all sent there when they were young, right? Since they grew up in each other's immortal alliances, their relationship with each other might be deeper than that of the previous immortal alliances. Instead of recalling them, it would be better for them to live and cultivate as they did before. What you need to do is to take away the mission that is hanging above their heads. Yes, we've been careless. Ji Yan Jinren nodded hurriedly and said, if Shiyu is willing to stay in our Chongshi sect, he won't return to Mei Xianling. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and reward it. Chapter 4994. After saying this, Venerable Ji Yan glared at Yang Xia. Yang Xia knew Venerable Ji Yan's temper, so he just rolled his eyes at him and pretended not to see it. Of course. Bright Moon Householder hurriedly added, if any of the disciples are willing to come back, I think it's better to let them come back. We will discuss the specific details later. You don't have to trouble Senior Xiao. Old Man Gu Qiong said with a smile, moreover, the Tao Alliance and the Heaven Alliance will no longer be enemies in the future. So, this matter won't be a big deal. I used the primordial soul cultivation method to cultivate my primordial soul cultivation method, so maybe you can also use the nascent soul cultivation method to cultivate your primordial soul cultivation method. Bright Moon Householder came to his senses and said in agreement, that's right. Fellow Taoist Gu Qiong, I have read a lot of nascent soul cultivation methods when I was cultivating. So, in the future, I will have to ask you about some secret techniques. Ha! Xiao Hua laughed and took out some jade slips. He handed them to Old Man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder and said, "You don't have to remind me in a roundabout way. A moment ago, I was going to give you these modified cultivation methods, but I was distracted by the Xian Alliance's matter." After saying this, Xiaohua pointed at Old Man Gu Qiong's jade slips and said, "These are the spiritual root selection method and the complete nascent soul cultivation method. In fact, since you have come to the Heaven Alliance, you must have obtained these cultivation methods. But, you must be worried. So, take a look at them." "Thank you, Senior." Old Man Gu Qiong took them carefully. After reading them, he made several copies and handed them to Venerable Ji Yen and the others. As for these, Xiaohua pointed at the jade slips in front of Bright Moon Householder and said, "They are also the spiritual root selection method and the complete primordial soul cultivation method. So, you can rest assured." Thank you, Senior." Bright Moon Householder replied. He was even more careful than Old Man Gu Qiong. He hastily made a copy of it and gave it to Kong Chang and the Holy Mother of Earth Spirit. He even gave a copy to Yang Xiao. After Bright Moon Householder took a look at it, he said, "At first, I was surprised by your amazing divine ability. You were able to modify both the nascent soul cultivation technique and the nascent soul cultivation technique. I was afraid that I couldn't use this cultivation technique. But, after I saw the Tao Ancestors and the Tao Master's wills, I felt relieved." That's right. This is the Tao Ancestor and Tao Sovereign borrowing my hands to save our Tao sect. You all must take this as a warning and don't do anything wrong again." Xiaohua nodded solemnly and said. Xiaohua smiled when he spoke up to this point, and then he gazed at the others and said, "Right. Does the Tao Alliance require cultivation techniques for the primordial spirit? Does the Heavenly Alliance need nascent soul realm cultivation methods?" You don't have to worry about that, Senior." Old Man Gu Qiong was tactful, and he laughed heartily as he gave a copy of the cultivation technique to Bright Moon Householder. Bright Moon Householder also smiled and gave the copy of the primordial spirit cultivation technique to Old Man Gu Qiong. After both of them took it, Bright Moon Householder suggested, "After I return from the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Land, I will immediately remove the defense of the Heavenly Sacrificial Abyss. In the future, the Tao Alliance's disciples will be able to enter and leave the Heavenly Alliance as they wish." "Good." Old Man Gu Qiong clapped his hands and said, "Since the Heavenly Alliance has done this, how can the Tao Alliance not follow suit? Moreover, the Tao Alliance also wants to join hands with the Heavenly Alliance to set up many teleportation bridges above the Heavenly Sacrificial Abyss. This will allow ordinary disciples to pass through the Heavenly Sacrificial Abyss easily. Your wish is my wish. How can I refuse?" Bright Moon Householder raised his hands and made a high-five gesture as he said with a smile. Bang! Old Man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder's palms clapped together. Since that's the case, let's toast." Venerable Ji Yen laughed heartily and raised his wine cup to toast them. "Sirs, please." Xiaohua liked Venerable Ji Yen's straightforwardness, and he raised his cup to toast them. After they drank several cups of wine, the Heavenly Alliance and the Tao Alliance's cultivators gradually became harmonious, and they also started toasting each other. After a short while, Old Man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder exchanged a glance and walked toward Xiaohua. They bowed and said, "Senior Xiao, we offended you before, but you are magnanimous and didn't take offense. Moreover, you even returned good for evil by giving us a modified cultivation technique. We are deeply grateful to you. I don't dare to say anything about other matters, but your name, Venerable Xiao, will surely surpass the Heavenly Alliance's Alliance Master and the Tao Alliance's Alliance Master in the Yi-Lin continent. Your name will also be engraved in the history of the Tao Alliance. This is why I propose a toast to you." Xiaohua was somewhat puzzled. He looked at the two people, stood up, and said with a smile, "Fellow Taoists, this matter isn't appropriate. First, I borrowed the glory of the Tao Ancestor and the Tao Venerable, and this glory belonged to the two ancestors of the Tao Alliance. Second, the change in the situation of the Heavenly Alliance and the Tao Alliance was due to the two of you, not me. I was just acting as a middleman. However, I am very happy to meet two such open-minded fellow Taoists in the Yi-Lin continent. Come, please. Others might not know what the holy list of the 10,000 demon realm was, and old man Gu Qiong, venerable Ji Yen, Long Shensi, and Bright Moon Householder might not say it, but they knew very well that it was a place where the experts of the demon clan left their names. They had never heard of a human being occupying a place on it. However, this seemingly ordinary Tao sect cultivator in front of them had done it. Old man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder really admired this young cultivator. Moreover, since the first time they saw Xiao Hua, except when Xiao Hua killed Long Shensi, his imposing manner was so strong that everyone looked askance at him. For the rest of the time, Xiao Hua spoke with a smile and was extremely humble. And this humility also revealed an absolute grace and bearing. Many times, arrogance was a hypocrisy without any foundation, while humility was a magnanimity with confidence. Xiao Hua's humility once again caused the two supreme cultivators who controlled the situation in the Yi-Lin continent to be convinced. After drinking with Xiao Hua, Daoist Ji Yen and the others wanted to come over, but old man Gu Qiong waved his hand behind them, signaling them to wait. However, Xiao Hua had already seen it. He laughed and said, I thought that the two of you were toasting me for some reason, but it turns out that you have another meaning. Please tell me, is it the peach of immortality or the elixir? He. Just as Xiao Hua finished speaking, Mother Earth Spirit and Fairy Emoyun floated over and raised their cups with a smile. Senior Xiao, we don't care what other people are planning, but can you give us more of the peach of immortality and the elixir? Especially the elixir, I feel that my face has become much more youthful. Xiao Hua was the most soft-hearted person, especially when he saw beautiful female cultivators. How could he handle the toast of the Mother Earth Spirit and Fairy Emoyun? After raising his cup and drinking with the Mother Earth Spirit and Fairy Emoyun, he said with a smile, this elixir is actually the rejuvenation elixir, but because my cultivation method is different, the elixir I refine is far more effective than the ordinary rejuvenation elixir, so it has the effect of replenishing one's lifespan. Since you like it, I'll give you more. Oh, as for the peach of immortality, you can try to cultivate it, but don't have too much hope. Only the immortal palace has it in the hidden immortal continent. It can't grow anywhere else. I knew it. Mother Earth Spirit jumped like a little girl and said with a smile, when I took it, I felt that it had the taste of the rejuvenation elixir. As she said that, she seemed to have realized something and slightly raised her hand to cover her mouth, as if she was a little girl who had revealed a secret. She looked really cute. He. Xiao Hua had already seen that this Mother Earth Spirit wasn't a pure human, but this was someone else's secret, so he wouldn't casually point it out. He faintly smiled and generously gave a lot of peach of immortality and rejuvenation elixirs to the Mother Earth Spirit and Fairy Emoyun. Seeing that the two female cultivators had received benefits, Wanderer Fu Bo, a loose cultivator, also wanted to squeeze in. Old man Gu Qiong slightly frowned and coughed lightly, everyone, don't be anxious. The matter you are waiting for is only a personal matter. What fellow Daoist Bright Moon and I want to discuss with Senior Xiao is the matter of our Yilin continent. It won't be too late for you to talk about it after we discuss it with Senior Xiao. That's right, with Senior Xiao's magnanimity, he will surely satisfy all of your wishes. Bright Moon Householder couldn't help but personally praise Xiao Hua. Oh. Xiao Hua frowned and asked curiously, fellow Daoist Gu Qiong, what else do you want to discuss with me in the Yilin continent? Old man Gu Qiong said with a wry smile, Senior Xiao, actually, after we found your traces, we made a lot of arrangements to intercept you at the teleportation array of the Taoist Alliance. Our purpose is to obtain your cultivation method, but that's not the most important thing. Xiao Hua suddenly understood. He nodded and said, this old man understands now. During the Alliance conference, you have already guessed that this old man had crossed realms to come here. You want to ask how this old man came back and find the realm passage. That's right. Old man Gu Qiong hurriedly replied, that's exactly what the Taoist Alliance wants. Although we know that you have lost your cultivation, you are still a senior and have the method of selecting spiritual roots. We can't do anything to you, right? Xiao Hua smiled slightly. He could believe old man Gu Qiong's words, but not all of them. He had lost his cultivation, and even Kong Jing of the Peacock Mountain Villa wanted to capture him to ask the Heaven Alliance for help. Who knew what the Taoist Alliance would do to him if they captured him? However, facts were facts, and they couldn't be hypothesized. Xiao Hua had already been taught a lesson by Gu Qiong old man, so he couldn't say anything about it. Seeing Xiao Hua's smile, old man Gu Qiong calmed down and said again, Senior Xiao, the method of selecting spiritual roots, the cultivation method of the nascent soul, and the cultivation method of the primordial spirit have brought new vitality to the Taoist sect of the Yilan continent. The disciples selected by the method of selecting spiritual roots will cultivate new cultivation methods and inherit the orthodoxy of our Taoist sect. However, there are now hundreds of millions of Taoist sect cultivators in the Yilan continent. What path should they take in their cultivation? P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, or donate it. Chapter 4995. That's right. Bright Moon Householder was the Deputy Alliance Master of the Heavenly Alliance, and he had naturally considered this issue for a long time. When he heard this, he said with deep emotion, Senior Xiao, I've already seen the primordial spirit cultivation method. The modification of the cultivation method starts from the essence refinement stage to the void stage, and the modification of the essence refinement stage will affect the cultivation of the void stage. So, if one starts cultivating from the middle, it's hard to say how effective it will be. In fact, it can be said that Senior Zhao's primordial spirit cultivation method is a complete cultivation method, and it won't be of much help to cultivators like us who have already cultivated it. So, when we discovered the change in the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, our Tao Alliance started to prepare a backup plan. Old man Gu Qiong glanced at Bright Moon Householder and said, after our discussion, we thought that looking for a stable space channel to go to another place was the most appropriate method. What did the Heavenly Alliance think about this? Bright Moon Householder nodded without hesitation and said, Fellow Taoist Gu Qiong, the Heavenly Alliance also had the same idea. Moreover, our Heavenly Alliance has already dispatched disciples to look for traces of space channels in our territory. However, several hundred years have already passed, yet our Heavenly Alliance hasn't made any substantial progress. What about the Tao Alliance? Old man Gu Qiong smiled bitterly and said, if the Heavenly Alliance can't find a space channel, then our Tao Alliance won't be any better. Otherwise, I would have looked for Senior Xiao anxiously because I knew that he broke through the boundary of the Yilan continent and didn't come close to the 10 Forbidden Lands. Xiao Hua asked curiously, Fellow Taoist Gu Qiong, since you know that I lost all of my magic power when I broke through the boundary, it means that the space channel I passed through wasn't stable. So, why are you still pinning your hopes on me? Moreover, what does the space channel have to do with the 10 Forbidden Lands? Old man Gu Qiong hurriedly smiled and said, Senior, you don't know. The 10 Forbidden Lands are the 10 most dangerous places in the Yilan continent, and the Heavenly Wind Forbidden Land is one of them. There are fragments of the worldly laws of heaven and earth in the 10 Forbidden Lands, and they also have realm storms of different sizes. In other words, the 10 Forbidden Lands have 10 realm cracks that are adjacent to other realms. Senior, since you came from the boundary of the Yilan continent, we naturally wondered whether there was a stable realm channel. Alas, what a pity. Xiao Hua sighed, this old man didn't walk through a stable space passage. If this old man were to turn back and look for it now, I'm afraid that I won't be able to find the way back. Old man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder were quite disappointed, and they asked in a low voice, Senior, does this mean that there isn't any spatial channel in the vicinity of the Western Field Mountain Range? Xiaohua nodded. Indeed, there isn't. This old man has no reason to deceive you. Also, to be honest, I didn't tell you in detail just now. This old man was able to travel from the 10,000 demon realm to the Yilin continent purely by chance. It was the great sage Fire Phoenix King of the 10,000 demon realm who wanted to plot against this old man. That's why this old man was sent here. That ambush contained the power of heaven and earth. Even a great saint from the 10,000 demon realm could not resist it. Just you wait, just give up. Xiaohua originally wanted to say that the heavenly wind forbidden area's power was similar to the 10,000 demon realms, but he didn't say anything more. He was afraid that if he gave them hope, they would go to the forbidden area to find a space passage. Actually, Senior Xiao. Bright Moon Householder hesitated for a moment before he said, apart from the Xian alliance mentioned by Yang Xia, many seniors of the Yilin continent have been to the 10,000 demon realm, the demon realm, and the Red Cloud realm. Moreover, I even mistakenly entered a world full of darkness 1,000 years ago. Oh. Upon hearing this, Daoist Ji Yen raised his eyebrows and asked curiously, Bright Moon, it turns out that you didn't cultivate in seclusion for 1,000 years, but went to another world. It's no wonder that your strength has increased by a lot. Alas, don't mention it. Bright Moon Householder sighed when he mentioned that world full of darkness. I was just practicing in the Mo Qing forbidden area that day. Old man Gu Qiong smiled and said, Fellow Bright Moon, since you came to the Mo Qing forbidden area of the Dao Alliance, why didn't you greet me? Humph. Bright Moon Householder curled his lips and said, if I had known that I would be sent to a place full of ghosts, where I couldn't cultivate, I would have surely greeted you. You don't know this, but even with this old man's cultivation level, when I reached that place, I was unable to discern my surroundings, much less see the scenery around me. Furthermore, the heaven and earth spiritual chi there was completely different from that of the Yilin continent. This old man had no way of cultivating. Therefore, I didn't dare to leave the place where I crossed the world, and I waited for several hundred years before I returned to the Yilin continent. When I went there, I consumed more than half of my magic power because I crossed the world, and my strength wasn't even comparable to that of a god refinement realm expert. When I returned to the Yilin continent, I didn't have enough magic power, and I couldn't even beg for death because of the worldly storm. So, when I returned to the Yilin continent with great difficulty, I only had half of my life left. Therefore, I could only cultivate in seclusion, and it took me several dozen years to recover. Xiaohua suddenly asked, Fellow Daoist, in your opinion, is the worldly spiritual chi of the Yilin continent similar to the worldly spiritual chi of the Yilin continent after its mutation? Although it's somewhat similar. Bright Moon Householder shook his head and replied without hesitation, but, if I carefully examine it, I feel that it's completely different. Of course, I can't be completely sure about this, as my strength is limited. Well, fellow Daoist Bright Moon, the world you went to should be the dark spirit world. Xiaohua nodded and told him about the dark spirit world that he had heard in the 10,000 demon realm. Then, he said, previously, I suspected that the worldly spiritual chi of the dark spirit world might have leaked into the Yilin continent, which might have caused the mutation of the worldly spiritual chi of the dark spirit world. But, after hearing fellow Daoist Bright Moon's words, I realized that I might have made a mistake. So, what are the other 8 forbidden areas? And, which ones are they related to? Which seniors have been there? Senior Xiao, please take a look. Old man Gu Qiong was already prepared, and he took out a jade slip and handed it over to Xiaohua, saying, this is the location of the 10 forbidden areas of the Yilin continent, as well as the records of some seniors of the Dao Alliance who crossed the world. Similarly, some records of the Dao Alliance's exploration of the space channel over the years are also in it. Xiaohua took the jade slip and used his divine sense to check it. Old man Gu Qiong continued to explain, the Yilin continent has a total of 10 forbidden areas. The Dao Alliance has 4, which are the Profound Gong Forbidden Area, the Flood Dao Forbidden Area, the Fu Lin Forbidden Area, and the Ink Qing Forbidden Area. The Heaven Alliance has 6, which are the Heaven Wind Forbidden Area, the Sky Splitting Forbidden Area, the Sky Dome Forbidden Area, the Captive Imprisonment Forbidden Area, the Soul Tearing Forbidden Area, and the Soul Shattering Forbidden Area. Except for the Ink Qing Forbidden Area, which we didn't know before, leads to the Dark Spirit World, and the Soul Shattering Forbidden Area, which is somewhat related to the Red Cloud World. The other 8 forbidden areas, including the Heaven Wind Forbidden Area, are more or less related to the 10,000 Demon World. Of course, it's not because of the cracks in the 8 forbidden areas. My Dao sect seniors have been to all of them. It's because the fragments of the world laws in these forbidden areas are very similar. Old man Gu Qiong stopped speaking and looked at Bright Moon Householder. Bright Moon Householder understood what Old man Gu Qiong meant. Then, he took out a jade slip and handed it over to Xiao Hua respectfully. This is the result of our Heavenly Alliance's research over the years. According to the current records of my Heaven Alliance, a total of 13 seniors of the Heaven Alliance have been to the 10,000 Demon World. 8 of them returned safely, and the fate of the other 5 is unknown. 15 seniors of the Dao Alliance have been to the 10,000 Demon World, and 3 seniors went to the Red Cloud World. Only 7 of them returned, and the fate of the other seniors is unknown. Among them, the senior who returned from the Red Cloud World was called Xiu Zhu. After he returned, he left some records, but he disappeared inexplicably. No one knows what happened. The information about the Xian Alliance was obtained by a senior of the Heaven Alliance called Master Lu Guan. As for the Demon World, because the passage is not fixed and there are many seniors who went to the Demon World, our Heaven Alliance didn't have any special records. Of course, these seniors who crossed over. Bright Moon Householder talked about some information about the Heaven Alliance and the Dao Alliance's crossing over. The strength of these seniors of the Dao Alliance who could cross over was no small matter. However, their situation was similar to Xiao Hua's. Every time they crossed over, their strength would be depleted. In the best case, their cultivation would be greatly reduced, while in the worst case, they would lose all their magic power. Of course, there were many places on the Yi Lin continent that could lead to other worlds. However, the spatial cracks of the 10 forbidden lands were the most obvious. Therefore, most of the seniors of the Dao Alliance who went to other worlds chose the spatial cracks of the 10 forbidden lands. After Bright Moon Householder finished talking, Old man Gu Qiong said, speaking of the spatial cracks of the 10 forbidden lands, this old man would like to add something. According to the records of my Dao Alliance, the spatial storms of the 3 forbidden lands, which are related to the 10,000 Demon World, are not constantly strong. Instead, they calm down every once in a while. Previously, many seniors of the Dao Alliance went there when the spatial storms were calm. Xiao Hua's heart skipped a beat, and he asked, what about when this old man crossed over? It's when the spatial storms just started to get stronger. Old man Gu Qiong replied with certainty. Xiao Hua nodded inwardly. He already understood that 9 of the 10 forbidden lands on the Yi Lin continent were related to the 10,000 Demon World's power. In fact, when the Xian Alliance went to the 10,000 Demon World, they also went there when the spatial storms were calm. Bright Moon Householder added. Xiao Hua withdrew his divine sense from the jade slip and said with a bitter smile, so, at this time, neither the Heavenly Alliance nor the Dao Alliance has found a stable spatial channel. Yes. Old man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder said in unison, that's why we want to implore Senior Xiao, don't mention this matter. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, if this old man knew, he would definitely tell you. Okay. Old man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder were helpless. Moreover, Xiao Hua suddenly remembered something, and he hurriedly reminded them, don't go to the 10,000 Demon World for a while. This old man killed 2 great sages of the 10,000 Demon World, and they couldn't do anything to me. Now that this old man has left, they will definitely tighten their vigilance. If you go there and are discovered by them, I'm afraid that your lives will be in danger. P.S. Fellow cultivators who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Chapter 4996. The group of cultivators did not take Xiaohua's warning seriously, but when they heard that Xiaohua killed 2 great saints of the demon clan, they were all shocked. Sigh. Xiaohua realized that he did not show off this episode just now. Now that he suddenly said it, it was a slip of the tongue again. Fortunately, under Xiaohua's care, he concealed the fact that he had killed the Snow Wolf King. Senior. Fairy Mo Yun and the Earth Spirit Goddess knew that it was time for them to appear, and hurriedly called out, "Senior, quickly tell us, how did you kill 2 great saints of the demon clan? We heard that the demon clan of the demon realm was attacking our human clan. Today, Senior killed 2 great saints of the demon clan, it really raised our human clan's prestige." "All right." Xiaohua helplessly recounted the process of fighting for the magnetic field. The eyes of the others flashed with excitement, but Kong Chang revealed a thoughtful expression. "Good." After Xiaohua finished speaking, everyone clapped and said, "Senior killed the great saints of the demon clan, it is really satisfying. It can be considered as revenge for the hundreds of millions of cultivators of the Xian Alliance." This is nothing." Xiaohua laughed, "This old man does not like to be ruthless. Unless this old man is forced into a corner, this old man will not be like this." At this point, Kong Chang hurriedly stepped forward and said respectfully, "That's right, Junior has not thanked Senior for not killing Kong Jing." Sigh, Kong Jing's matter is nothing. Xiaohua waved his hand and said, "He did have the thought of taking a risk. He wanted to take advantage of this old man's loss of magic power to capture me and take me to your place to take credit. He did not have any killing intent, so this old man will not kill him. However, this old man's punishment is not light. If he can't calm down and continue to act like a playboy, he will definitely lose his life." "Yes, Junior also warned him like this." Kong Chang replied, "Junior has seen Senior's cultivation method Jade slip and already understood Senior's painstaking efforts. So first, you broke the clan's law and punished Kong Jing with 1,000 years of seclusion. Senior is too merciful to him, Junior is afraid that he will not be able to control himself and destroy his own life. At that time, this old man didn't expect to meet you. The favor I gave him was merely to repay the karma between your Peacock Mountain Manor and this old man." Xiaohua laughed mischievously. "Didn't this old man just say that 2 nascent soul cultivators were chasing after this old man? The talisman I used to escape, is your Peacock Mountain Manor's phoenix illusion." "Oh." Kong Chang finally woke up as if he had just woken up from a dream. He said somewhat shamefully, "I'm ashamed. It turns out that it was my ancestor's shadow that saved Kong Jing. Now I understand why Senior favors my Peacock Manor so much." Xiaohua nodded and said, "There's no love without reason in this world, and there's also no hatred without reason. Everything's as karma's fate's karma. Since that's the case, I won't stand on ceremony. I would like to ask you to do me a favor." Kong Chang thought for a moment, then said, "Alliance leader Long Shensi agreed to this, but he fell into the demonic path and died. Senior, please help me." "Oh. What do you mean?" Xiaohua was puzzled. He looked at the other cultivators who were also puzzled and asked, "What did Long Shensi promise you?" Kong Chang said with a smile, "Senior, do you remember the spiritual item that can make up for one's lifespan?" "Of course." Xiaohua said with a smile, "How can I not remember the spiritual item that tricked the cultivators of the Dao Alliance? Could it be that, there is really such an item in the Realm Storm in the Tianfeng Forbidden Land?" Old Man Gu Qiong, Ji Yen Sage, and the others laughed when they heard Xiaohua's words. They had seen Long Shensi's death and understood that the so-called spiritual item that could make up for one's lifespan was just a bait. How could there be spiritual items in the Realm Storm? Even Bright Moon householder, Yang Xia, and the Earth Spirit's Holy Mother smiled. They did not know why Kong Chang brought it up now. Senior, fellow Taoists, there is something you don't know. Kong Chang was a little embarrassed, but he still explained, there is no spiritual item that can make up for one's lifespan. It is just a bait, but I did find the supreme light in the Tianfeng Forbidden Land, so I thought there might be a magnetic item in the realm storm. That was why I went to invite Alliance Master Long Shensi to help me. When he heard about this, he immediately thought of today's ambush. That was why he told me not to leak the information and only said that there was a spiritual item that could make up for one's lifespan. Oh, Senior Shao, when I went to Tong Lake City, I asked Master Bihu to help my Peacock Mountain Manor find a magnetic item. Supreme Light. Xiao Hua smiled and asked, magnetic items like water essence and ice essence can only be found in magnetic areas. How can there be supreme light? Oh, why does your Peacock Mountain Manor need magnetic items? What kind of magnetic items do you need? Senior, please no. The five-colored divine light that my Peacock Mountain Manor's disciples cultivate requires the magnetic polarity array. Although Kong Chang did not dare to hide it, he still gave a concise introduction. This magnetic polarity array requires magnetic items to be constructed. The magnetic items in the Peacock Mountain Manor have almost been used up, Wu. Just as Kong Chang said this, the sound of wind suddenly rang out in the distant Kunlun Mirror's light pillar. The originally orderly black and white light pillar suddenly began to collapse. The Thunderbolt Immortal was somewhat surprised, but also somewhat ecstatic. His voice came from the bottom of Xiao Hua's heart. Fellow Taoist, quick! Come quickly, great news has appeared. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to fly, Shua. A layer of clear air inexplicably gushed out from the collapsed black and white light pillar, rushing towards the Tianfeng Forbidden Land like a mighty wave. In just a moment, the nearby space was completely covered. Moreover, after this supreme light, the realm storm, which had already gone out of control, swept over again. If the supreme light was the surface of the sea that made people feel relaxed and happy, this realm storm was the undercurrent under the sea that devoured people's lives. Supreme light. Kong Chang was extremely sensitive to the power of the five elements. So, he couldn't help but cry out. Senior, fellow Taoists, please lend me a hand. A bitter look appeared on Bright Moon Householder's face as he replied, Kong Chang, we want to lend you a hand. But the spiritual treasure used to suppress the realm storm has already been destroyed. So, how can we help you? Senior Shao. Disappointment appeared on Kong Chang's face. He looked at Xiao Hua, and implored, Senior, do you have any way to help me? Xiao Hua didn't pay attention to Kong Chang's surprise. He had already condensed the principles of the world. So, he didn't need to use his illusion breaker magical eye to see that there was a pitch-black spot in the place where the supreme light was emitted. It didn't even have any luster. It seemed as if it had existed there since ancient times. It was emitting an azure radiance like the sun. When this radiance rushed into the space, it instantly turned into surging waves of supreme light. Not only that, but along with the supreme light, there were also many indescribable mysteries. Some of these mysteries were broken, some were complete, some were instantly integrated into the void, and some were fluttering in the air. When Xiao Hua's gaze fell on the black spot, it was as if his gaze had sunk into it. A layer of coolness appeared all over his body. It was a kind of tranquility that came from the bottom of his heart. Xiao Hua couldn't help but groan. Water. Water origin. It's actually the water origin. Who would have thought that, the water origin would exist in the crack between the Yi-Lin continent and the 10,000 demon realm? Although Xiao Hua's voice was soft, it sounded like a thunderclap in everyone's ears. Kong Chang also cried out involuntarily, What? Senior Xiao, are you sure you didn't see wrong? This is actually the legendary origin of water. Nonsense. Old man Gu Qiong shouted. If the supreme light wasn't produced by the water origin, how could it have the effect of replenishing one's lifespan? Huh, okay. Spiritual Master Ji Yen laughed. The water origin is something in the legends. This old man has only heard of it, but has never seen it. Since we've encountered it today, it can be considered fate. Let's go and lend you a hand. Thank you, thank you. Kong Chang cried out happily. Everyone, don't worry. This thing is definitely not something that I can obtain alone. If everyone helps, there will be benefits. Old man Gu Qiong was about to speak, but after hearing Kong Chang's words, he nodded slightly and said, since that's the case, let's go and take a look. The water origin is the origin of the 5 elemental laws of heaven and earth. Not to mention the cultivators of the mortal realm, even the immortals of the immortal realm can't obtain a complete water origin. Let's not covet too much. As long as we can find some broken laws or supreme light, it's already good enough. When everyone saw this unprecedented opportunity, although they did not put their reverence for Xiao Hua beyond the highest heavens, at this moment, their eyes were only focused on the water origin, and they did not notice the expression on Xiao Hua's face. Xiao Hua did not listen to Kong Chang and the others at all. He was just excited and looked at the motionless water origin in the distance with some surprise. He thought to himself, I cultivate the light escape technique because I need to temper my bones with the 5 elemental origins. Previously, I had already obtained the metal, wood, fire, earth, and even the wind and thunder origins, but I just lacked the water origin. Later, I was busy saving the world and did not think about it anymore. In particular, even if the water origin existed on the 3 continents, I did not have enough time to find it. Who would have thought that, at the last moment, during the last step of saving the world, I would see the water origin again? The heavens are simply too biased towards this Xiao. If this Xiao cannot treat others with kindness, treat all races with kindness, and repay the heavens with kindness, then this Xiao would be far too ungrateful. As he thought about this, the reverence and gratitude in Xiao Hua's heart rose again. He ignored the cultivators who were rushing toward the realm storm. Instead, he tidied his Taoist robe, knelt solemnly in the air, and kowtowed 9 times respectfully to the sky. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Chapter 4997. Senior Xiao. Old man Gu Qiong's heart was also stirred. In the face of this supreme temptation, he also lost his mind for a moment. He felt that the water origin was already in his bag, and he had already urged his body to rush toward the water origin. However, when the overwhelming realm storm rushed over and blocked his body, it was as if a bucket of cold water had been poured over his head. Old man Gu Qiong immediately sobered up. Although there were many cultivators present, who could really obtain the water origin? Needless to say, it must be Xiao Hua and the few cultivators he brought with him. In particular, although Xiao Hua was with them, the other great sages were near the water origin. Even if someone had the opportunity to obtain the water origin, it would be these great sages who obtained it first. What was the point of them flying over in such a hurry? Therefore, old man Gu Qiong looked at the excited Kong Chang and secretly shook his head as he began to look for Xiao Hua. However, when he saw that Xiao Hua did not fly over but respectfully knelt on the ground and kowtowed to him, he was stunned and cried out in a low voice, What? What are you doing? Xiao Hua naturally ignored old man Gu Qiong, but old man Gu Qiong's call of Senior Xiao woke the cultivators of the various Tao Alliance and the Heavenly Alliance up. They all slowly stopped and turned to look at Xiao Hua with a puzzled expression on their faces. Before Xiao Hua could get up, the black and white light beam of the Kunlun mirror had completely collapsed under the impact of the law waves of the water origin. Not to mention that the Kunlun mirror was not complete and the heavenly man had not completely controlled it. Even if the Kunlun mirror was complete, it would not be able to maintain the space passage in the face of the law of heaven and earth. Since the black and white light beam had collapsed, the realm storm of the 10,000 demon realm followed. This realm storm was not as turbulent as the previous two, but it was mixed with more pure law of heaven and earth, and its power was not much weaker than before. Under the impact of the realm storm, Old Man Gu Qiong and the others could no longer maintain their balance. They all summoned their natal spiritual artifacts and spirit treasures to protect themselves. For a moment, many cultivators were like small boats in a storm, on the verge of capsizing. Looking at Xiao Hua again, there was no brilliance around his body, nor was there any fluctuation of magic power. He was simply wearing a neat Taoist robe, with an indescribable aura of righteousness, with an aura of gratefulness that others couldn't hope to match. He was meticulously kowtowing to the sky, but it was such a simple action that made people look so holy. Even the monstrous realm storm couldn't change his action, and even a corner of his Taoist robe couldn't be lifted. Under the reverence of these cultivators, he was sublimated. Only cultivators can become great sages of the human race. Only such cultivators can transcend the tribulation and become immortals. The same thought appeared in their hearts. Even though they didn't know why Xiao Hua was kowtowing so respectfully, it didn't stop them from having the same thought. Compared to Senior Xiao, the arrogance of our Tao Alliance and Heaven Alliance's seniors during their heavenly tribulations seems like ignorance now. Compared to Senior Zhao's humility, their arrogance isn't even worthy of carrying Senior Zhao's shoes. Xiao Hua kowtowed at a neither fast nor slow pace, as if he didn't care about the gains and losses of the water origin. After a few minutes, he stood up and looked at the cultivators in the distance who were trying their best to resist the realm storm. He said somewhat embarrassedly, "Everyone, especially fellow Taoist Kong, I'm a little sorry. This water source is related to a martial art that this Xiao cultivates, so this Xiao is determined to obtain it. Of course, fellow Taoist Kong, you don't have to worry about the primordial magnet that your Peacock Mountain Manners array needs. I just happen to have a leftover primordial magnet that I can give to your Kong family. Oh, of course, this primordial magnet has been contaminated by dragon qi. I don't know if you care." Xiao Hua's apology once again made everyone feel uncomfortable. In their minds, destiny is constant, and only the virtuous can occupy it. Of course, virtuous couldn't be measured. It could only be distinguished by strength and means. Judging from the current situation, Xiao Hua's strength was definitely not something that Elder Gu Qiong and the others could resist, let alone great saints like the Thunderbolt Immortal. Elder Gu Qiong and the others felt that their magic power was increasingly restricted under the realm storm. Even if they faced the water origin, they probably wouldn't be able to snatch it, right? However, Xiao Hua, who should be able to get the water origin, gave such an apologetic explanation and even offered to compensate Kong Chang. How could they not feel incredulous? Kong Chang didn't know how the other cultivators felt, but he knew that after hearing Xiao Hua's words, he definitely felt like he had regained something he had lost. He hurriedly called out, "Many thanks, Senior Xiao. Many thanks, Senior Xiao. This junior is proficient in the five-colored divine light. If Senior needs. No, this junior will help Senior get this water origin. As for the primordial magnet, Junior will make a fair trade with Senior." "That's right." Bright Moon Householder also shouted, "Senior has treated us so well, so how can we snatch it from Senior? We'll go and help Senior right away." Elder Gu Qiong's heart also became warm, and he had already thrown the idea of snatching the water origin out of his mind. He shouted, "Let's go, let's go. Since Senior Xiao needs it, we will naturally help Senior Xiao." At this time, everyone was sincerely willing to help, and there was no hypocrisy in their voices. Xiao Hua was also happy to hear this, but just as he was about to speak, another realm storm rushed over like a fierce beast. Even someone as strong as Elder Gu Qiong couldn't help but stagger and almost lose his balance in the storm. Obviously, the appearance of the water origin had caused an abnormality in the realm storm. Seeing that the water origin in the distance was about to fall, Xiao Hua hurriedly shouted, "Fellow Taoists, your strength is still shallow, and I'm afraid that you won't be able to help much under the might of heaven and earth. This old man appreciates your kindness, but please leave for the time being. Wait until this old man obtains the water origin. The more than 10 supreme cultivators of the Yilin continent were unexpectedly called, "Your strength is still shallow," by Xiaohua, but at this time, no one dared to say anything. Looking at the increasingly powerful realm storm, they could only avoid it. However, Kong Chang shouted again, "Senior Xiao, the Tai Wei cyan light is somewhat thin. Could it be that the water origin is about to fall into the 10,000 demon realm? Junior's 5-color divine light may be able to help Senior, so please let Junior pass." Okay. Of course, Xiaohua was anxious. Just as he was about to activate his body, he heard Kong Chang's words and his heart unconsciously moved. He nodded and said, "Then I'll have to trouble fellow Kong." After saying that, Xiaohua waved his big sleeve, and an invisible barrier appeared. He brought Kong Chang and was about to rush into the depths of the Heaven Wind Forbidden Zone. However, at this time, the Yi clan's ancestor who had been silent all this time also shouted, "Senior Xiao, Junior also has a secret technique. Maybe it can help Senior." Oh. Xiaohua was a bit hesitant. He looked at the Yi clan's ancestor, Yi Zhen. "Senior, please don't worry. This is a secret technique related to the realm storm." Yi Zhen hurriedly shouted, "If Senior needs it, Junior will give it to Senior." Okay. Xiaohua chose to believe. He also brought Yi Zhen and rushed into the depths of the Heaven Wind Forbidden Zone. When Xiaohua arrived, the Thunderbolt Immortal and the others had already surrounded the bottom of the Heaven Wind Forbidden Zone. They were all Xiaohua's doppelgangers, so they did not dare to act rashly. Seeing Xiaohua coming over, that celestial raised the Kunlun mirror in his hand and shouted, "Fellow Daoist, can you let me try activating the Kunlun mirror? Everyone, please don't be impatient." Although the strength of Xiaohua and the others did not increase compared to when they broke through the realm storm, now that they had condensed the body of law, they had some resistance to the realm storm. Therefore, under the violent impact of the realm storm, they could still stand firm. Of course, this was also the limit of Xiaohua and the others. If they were stronger, they would be swept away, so Xiaohua was still a bit anxious. After Xiaohua finished speaking, he said to the Thunderbolt Immortal, "Fellow Daoist, you have worked hard. Protect Kong Chang and fellow Daoist Yi Zhen first." Well said. The Thunderbolt Immortal rolled up his sleeves and protected Kong Chang and Yi Zhen. Xiaohua urged his body to move closer to the water origin. When he felt the suction of the realm storm, he hurriedly stopped. At this time, he did not dare to easily cross the realm storm again. Xiaohua took a deep breath and released the aura in the space. Then, he used the Big Dipper magical fist in the realm storm again. However, after a cup of tea's time, the water origin did not show any signs of rising. Instead, it was faintly falling. It seemed that because of the realm storm, the other origin aura in the space and the Big Dipper magical fist could not draw out the water origin. Damn it! Xiaohua cursed in a low voice. He knew in his heart that the water origin should be something from the realm storm. He did not know how it fell into the realm storm. If he wanted to get the water origin, he first had to eliminate the realm storm between the Yilin continent and the realm storm. In other words, he had to first get the water origin from the realm storm to the Yilin continent. This was a realm-crossing divine ability. Xiaohua did not have such strength now. What should I do? At this time, Xiaohua could not help but be a little anxious. After all, he was only 100 feet away from the gathering of the 5 elements origin. Could it be that it would become the end of the world? Fellow Huang Tong. Xiaohua hurriedly called out in his heart, "Come over quickly." Huang Tong responded and flew over. Without waiting for Xiaohua to say anything, she flapped her wings. Gotcha! The sound of cracking arose from the nearby space. A void passage formed in the realm storm and spread towards the water origin. Unfortunately, this void passage only extended for a few hundred feet. With a loud boom, the void passage collapsed under the realm storm. Do it again. I, Xiaohua, will lend you a helping hand. Seeing that the water source was actually moving again, Xiaohua became anxious. Okay. Huang Tong activated her space divine ability again and tore open the realm barrier. Xiaohua also rubbed his hands together and various colors of crystal light were produced. They turned into the power of law and fell on the void passage. Boom boom. In the realm storm, contrary to Xiaohua's anxious mood, the void passage extended forward like a snail. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a month, vote for a recommendation, collect, reward, thank you for all forms of support. Chapter 4998. Fellow Taoists, come and help. Xiaohua hurriedly shouted when he saw that the space channel was beginning to distort. Unfortunately, before he could finish speaking, the void channel had already collapsed. Fellow Taoist. Huang Tong stared at the fragments of the void channel that were scattered in the realm storm and said thoughtfully, to build a void channel in the realm storm, is really difficult. We can't do it at the same time because the realm power is too strong. It will cause the repulsive force of the realm to backfire and easily cause the realm to reverse, sucking us all into the 10,000 demon realm. So we can only use our magic power one by one. But if we do that, this void channel won't last long. Fellow Taoist Xiao, I'm afraid we have no fate with this water source. Xiaohua's mouth was filled with bitterness as he looked at the water origin that was not moving towards the 10,000 demon realm. The azure blue light and shadow looked so warm and cute in his eyes, but he was about to pass by this thing that he had always dreamed of. What else can we do besides breaking through the realm? Xiaohua's mind raced, Yi Zhen. Suddenly, Xiaohua seemed to have thought of something. He hurriedly rushed up and shouted, Yi clan ancestor, what is that secret space technique of yours? Can you tell me now? Senior. Yi Zhen could not see clearly what was happening in the realm storm, but seeing Xiaohua's anxious look, he did not dare to be negligent. He hurriedly took out a simple jade pendant and respectfully handed it to Xiaohua. This is passed down by my Yi clan ancestor. Take a look first. If it's useful, Xiaohua did not wait for him to finish and hurriedly reached out to take the jade pendant. Seeing this, Yi Zhen did not say anything else and quietly waited for Xiaohua's reaction. Xiaohua's divine sense swept over and could not help but be stunned. He looked at Yi Zhen in surprise and said, This is an immortal technique of the immortal realm? That's right. Yi Zhen nodded, the Yi clan is not the Yi clan that you think of. Junior will talk about this later. Senior, look at the back. It also records the techniques that cultivators of the mortal realm can use. With Senior's strength, there should be no problem. Xiaohua looked at Yi Zhen with a complicated gaze and hesitated. When Yi Zhen saw Xiaohua's expression, he immediately understood what Xiaohua was thinking. He hastily said, Senior, don't think too much. Junior won't ask Senior to do anything. Senior's breadth of mind is truly rare in the mortal world, and even the immortal world. Therefore, Junior is willing to give this to Senior. If Xiaohua continued to decline, that would be too pretentious. He smiled and said, if that's the case, then this Xiao thanks you very much. Alright, that's all I can do. Yi Zhen said with a smile. Senior, please send me over. I wish you success, haha, thank you, thank you. Xiaohua laughed and said to Feng Wu, I'll have to trouble fellow Taoist to send fellow Taoist Yi over. Feng Wu grabbed with its sharp claws and flapped its wings to bring Yi Zhen away. Xiaohua looked at Feng Wu's gradually disappearing demon body and revealed a meaningful smile. Fellow Taoist Huang Tong, can you guess what kind of immortal secret skill is in the Yi clan's Stygian immortal slip? How would this old man know? Huang Tong's figure appeared beside Xiao Hua. Her face was filled with confusion as she said, since it's an immortal technique from the immortal world, of course it's something that the mystic space technique doesn't have, right? Take a look for yourself. Xiao Hua carefully handed the Stygian immortal slip to Huang Tong and said, "This Yi clan is definitely not simple." TSK. Not far away, the Celestial sneered. They already have an immortal technique inheritance from the immortal world. How could they be a simple family? Ah! At this moment, Huang Tong actually exclaimed beside Xiao Hua, this is a space stabilizing technique? How could there be such a miraculous immortal technique? Yes. Xiao Hua's gaze was somewhat deep as he nodded and said, an immortal technique that can stabilize space. This Xiao never thought that such an immortal technique existed in this world. With such an immortal technique, one can almost create their own space. Immortal world, immortal world, what a strange place. Huang Tong smiled and said, to actually be able to create such an immortal technique. Now, I am already very interested in the immortal world of the human race. The immortal world is a matter for the future. Xiao Hua urged, fellow Taoist, you should first comprehend this space-stabilizing technique. I'm afraid it's not easy for me to comprehend this space-stabilizing technique in a short period of time. Huang Tong smiled and said, but the channel-maintaining technique recorded in the back of this ink cloud pupil, I will be able to comprehend it soon. With that, Huang Tong immediately began to comprehend it. An immortal technique was an immortal technique. Even if it had been modified to the point where it could be cultivated by cultivators from the mortal world, it was not that simple to comprehend. Huang Tong still took 2 hours to comprehend it. And in these 2 hours, the water origin moved a few feet towards the 10,000 demon realm. This channel-maintaining technique was different from the space spell that Huang Tong had previously cultivated. It was something that he comprehended bit by bit when he was with Xiao Hua. While he comprehended it, he also passed it to Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua naturally shared it with the Celestial and the other avatars. So when Huang Tong could use it, Xiao Hua and the others could also use it. Huang Tong was not in a hurry to fly into the realm crack. Instead, she tried a few times using a secret technique nearby. Then, she said to Xiao Hua, fellow Taoist, I will first use a spatial technique to create a spatial tunnel. Fellow Taoist, you can use a technique to maintain the tunnel and then strengthen it. Then, fellow Taoist Thunder, and the others will form a team and tear a spatial tunnel at the realm barrier. In the end, if the tunnel still cannot reach the origin of water, I will attack with you. After Huang Tong finished assigning tasks, Xiao Hua and the others agreed in unison. Then, just like before, Huang Tong first activated the space spell to tear open the void, and the unstable space channel was revealed. At this time, the realm storm had become much more violent. The space passage had just been created, but it immediately showed signs of collapsing. Xiao Hua didn't dare to be careless. He hurriedly moved his hands, and similarly, snake-like crystal lights fell into the void and rushed into the walls of the space passage. As soon as the crystal lights fell into the space passage, it immediately emitted a pale yellow light and gradually began to stabilize. Good. Xiao Hua clapped his hands and said, it really is an immortal technique from the immortal world. Wonderful beyond words. It's not just that. Huang Tong sighed and said, this immortal technique is very useful. After this, I hope fellow Taoist Thunder can quickly comprehend it. It might be of great use. Okay. Xiao Hua activated the spell and ordered, fellow Taoist, give the Stygian immortal slip to fellow Taoist Thunder now. Okay. Huang Tong agreed and flew up. He shouted, fellow Taoist Heavenly Tao, you and the others prepare. In the time it took to eat a meal, the space channel had already extended to the top of the water origin. Because of the existence of breaking through the realm barrier, the extension was more difficult and the speed was slower. However, the space channel could still be pushed forward steadily. Xiao Hua and the others were happy. They knew that they were about to succeed. After Xiao Hua and Huang Tong expanded the space channel 2 more times, the water origin had already fallen into the space channel. Seeing thick layers of Tai Wei green light directly rushing into the space channel, Xiao Hua laughed and said, "Success." After saying that, Xiao Hua's figure fell into the space channel again. After approaching the realm barrier, he once again released the aura of the space, and at the same time, performed the Big Dipper magical fist. However, the water origin seemed to be motionless. It was no longer moving in the direction of the 10,000 demon realm. However, it was impossible to let the water origin break through the realm barrier and enter the Yilan continent. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Xiao Hua retracted the Big Dipper magical fist and cursed fiercely. The heavenly Tao being who was waiting on high called out, "Fellow Taoist, let me try. Let me see if the extinguishing heavenly dipper can, fellow Taoist, don't make trouble." Xiao Hua did not know whether to laugh or cry. Your extinguishing heavenly dipper is a great killing weapon. It won't be a problem to kill a great saint of the demon race. However, if you want to take the water origin, it's impossible. Fellow Taoist. Suddenly, Reverend Yun said, when you took the wind and thunder origin, you released the aura of the space. That was because you borrowed the other origin forces in the space. However, today, the origin forces are unable to cross 2 dimensions to draw the water origin. Why not consider drawing the water origin from the Yilan continent with the help of the 5 elements? Once Reverend Yun said that, Xiao Hua immediately understood. He looked at Kong Chang who was beside the Thunder Reverend and nodded. Fellow Taoist, you're right. The Kong family's 5-colored divine light can brush up all things. There is indeed something mysterious about it. Moreover, he was the first to discover the water origin. If he did not sense the aura of the water origin, I'm afraid he would not be able to do this. Why not let him try? Just as Xiao Hua finished speaking, thunderbolts flashed around the Thunder Reverend's body and sent Kong Chang down. Senior Xiao. Kong Chang was very happy to see that he could help Xiao Hua. He said, this junior can use the 5-colored divine light to brush up the water origin for senior. Hee hee. Xiao Hua laughed. Fellow Taoist Kong, I am very grateful for your kind intentions. However, although this water origin is very small, it is actually very heavy. I'm afraid even the 5-colored divine light cannot withstand it, right? Fellow Taoist, you should do what you can, and don't hurt yourself. All right. Kong Chang nodded, but his expression was obviously disapproving. It seemed that he was very confident in his 5-colored divine light. Sure enough, Kong Chang was very sensitive to the water origin. Without waiting for Xiao Hua to point out the location, after the 5-colored divine light flowed out of his eyes, he looked at the water origin at the far end of the spatial tunnel and said, Senior Xiao and fellow seniors, please stay away from it. Xiao Hua and the others obeyed and flew a distance away. They saw that the surface of Kong Chang's body first emitted a blood-red brilliance, and when the brilliance dimmed a little, a 5-colored halo appeared around his body. Buzz. The space tunnel began to vibrate. Finally, with a bird's cry, a 5-colored peacock Dharma body condensed from the 5-colored light and shadow. As soon as the peacock appeared, thumb-sized vortexes appeared in the surrounding space. All the energies of 5 elements were sucked into these vortexes and quickly disappeared. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Chapter 4999. Boom. Kong Chang did not dare to be negligent. He spread out his 5-colored wings and flew towards the spatial passageway. 2 streaks of 5-colored divine light fell like waterfalls. When they reached the boundary of the realm, they suddenly started to twist and turn into a knot of light. Then, they turned into threads and fell towards the origin of water. Swoosh swoosh swoosh. The five-colored divine light fell into the origin of water like tired birds returning to their nest. The origin of water actually started to shake. Waves of spatial storms that were 3 times stronger than before actually appeared again, roaring and rushing towards the spatial passageway. Quick! Seeing this, Xiaohua hurriedly shouted, "Fellow cultivators, I will go and protect fellow cultivator Kong. You all continue to maintain the stability of the spatial passageway." Then, Xiaohua flew to Kong Chang's side. With a wave of his hands, the laws of heaven and earth condensed into a barrier to block Kong Chang's left side. The Thunderbolt Immortal and the others used their powers to maintain the spatial passageway. "It's moving, it's moving." Just as Xiaohua was distracted, the Celestial shouted. Xiaohua was delighted. He hurriedly looked towards the other side of the spatial passageway. Indeed, as the five-colored divine light dimmed, the origin of water moved a little. However, when the five-colored divine light was extinguished, the origin of water stopped again. "Fellow cultivator Kong." Xiaohua looked at Kong Chang and said anxiously, "Can you activate the five-colored divine light again?" "As senior wishes." Kong Chang adjusted his breathing slightly and released the five-colored divine light again. After doing this more than 10 times, Kong Chang's face was already pale. The five-colored divine light released by the peacock celestial body was abnormally dim. However, the origin of water in the spatial passageway had just reached the boundary of the 2 realms. It had not reached the Yilan continent yet. "Senior." Kong Chang clenched his teeth and said in a low voice, "I have already tried my best. It seems I was too delusional earlier. Not to mention with my own strength, even with the help of Alliance leader Long Shensi and many fellow cultivators of the Heavenly Alliance, it is still impossible to obtain the origin of water." Although Kong Chang did not say it clearly, Xiaohua understood. If it was him, Xiaohua would not mind fighting for it. However, Kong Chang was not him. Xiaohua did not have the right to ask him to fight for him. Xiaohua thought for a moment and said apologetically, "Fellow Taoist Kong, this Xiao knows that you've already done your best. However, this item is really too important to this Xiao. This Xiao earnestly requests that, can you use the five-colored divine light one last time?" "Alas, actually." Kong Chang sighed. "Senior, you don't have to say that." That day, Kong Jing was able to return to the Peacock Manor alive and even gave the cultivation technique Jade Slip to this junior. This junior has already regarded senior as the benefactor of my Peacock Manor. Whatever junior can do for senior, there is no need for senior to be courteous. Junior will do his best for senior. However, there seemed to be a powerful barrier in front of the water origin, preventing it from moving forward. If this junior's guess is correct, it should be the spatial barrier between the 10,000 demon realm and my Yilan continent. With this junior's strength, I'm afraid that it's impossible for me to lead the water source to break through the barrier. My five-colored divine light isn't the true origin of the 5 elements. It's still too weak to attract the origin of water." "Oh." Xiaohua's eyes lit up as if he had thought of something. He hurriedly asked, "What if there's a true origin of the 5 elements?" "Senior, please don't joke around." Kong Chang smiled bitterly. "Even if there is, how can this junior activate it?" "I understand." Xiaohua smiled. "Fellow Taoist Kong, can you activate the five-colored divine light one last time? This Xiao will lend you a hand." "All right." Kong Chang did not hesitate at all and nodded. This junior is willing to risk his life for senior. Why would I be afraid of the five-colored divine light? After he finished speaking, Kong Chang's body was suffused with a dark blood light. The blood light went against the sky and soaked the peacock celestial body. Then, the peacock celestial body let out a mournful cry and activated the five-colored divine light once again. Seeing the five-colored divine light rushing out, Xiaohua also activated the spiritual power in his body. Then, he opened his mouth again. Pooh! With a sound, the six-colored spiritual fire rushed out and fell on the five-colored divine light. Boom! The spiritual fire fell on the five-colored divine light, and the four-colored light shone brightly like the stars. Moreover, the five-colored divine light that was originally slowly washing over the five-colored divine light suddenly surged violently like the waves of the sea. It washed through the space passage, crashed into the barrier between the two realms, and fell into the water origin. Something strange happened again. The water origin seemed to have been lit up by the five-colored divine light. It suddenly emitted a brilliance. When this brilliance landed on the five-colored divine light, it immediately dyed the blue light belt. Then, the water origin increased its speed and like a meteor, it rushed towards the barrier between the Yilan continent and the 10,000 demon realm. Pooh! With an almost silent muffled sound, the water origin broke through the barrier between the two realms and fell into the Yilan continent. Ga. The peacock celestial body on Kong Chang's body whimpered and shrank back into Kong Chang's body. Moreover, Kong Chang's body went soft and collapsed in the space passage. Xiaohua did not have time to help Kong Chang up and shouted loudly, "Fellow Taoist Kong, I can't thank you enough for your kindness. I will repay you generously later. Fellow Taoist Lei, quickly send fellow Taoist Kong over." Then, Xiaohua hurriedly released the spatial aura and even used the Big Dipper God Fist. As expected by Xiaohua, where the spatial aura landed, the water origin was immediately attracted by the 6 types of origin powers and accelerated into Xiaohua's body. Fellow Taoists. Xiaohua suddenly thought of something and whispered, "Quickly return to your positions. We have 7 types of origin powers to temper our bodies. We need to complete the light escape technique, good." The celestial being and the others were overjoyed and shouted. Their bodies swayed and entered Xiaohua's body one after another. See. The water origin entered Xiaohua's left arm and another indescribable pain was born. Xiaohua's arm was twisted and deformed. It was first annihilated and then regenerated. At the same time, the celestial being, Feng Wu and Huang Tong also began to change. A moment later, the Thunderbolt Immortal returned. Without saying anything, he also rushed into Xiaohua's lower dantian and sat down cross-legged. The tempering of the water origin was similar to that of the other 6 origin powers. Xiaohua also didn't let go of the spiritual fire. Wherever the water origin passed, the 6-colored spiritual fire turned into 7-colored spiritual fire. Even the Thunderbolt Immortal, the starry sky scattered nascent soul and the other hundreds of scattered nascent souls in his lower dantian were also baptized by the water origin. After an unknown period of time, Xiaohua's body of laws was tempered once again. Then, the water origin fell into the space along with the 5 elements aura. Rumble. A huge rumbling sound was born everywhere in the space. Different planes in the space shook at the same time. Countless mysterious fluctuations were born above the starry sky and rippled in all directions. When the water origin slowly fell into the starry sky, the entire starry sky suddenly darkened and then brightened up. Above the starry sky, there was no longer a blur. Even the fine traces of the stars could be seen clearly. An indescribable feeling emerged from the jade archive Xiaohua's heart. This is perfection. The brilliance around the jade archive Xiaohua's body also shone brightly. He looked around and looked at the space around him. A feeling of control was born from the bottom of his heart. He couldn't help but whisper, "Is this the ability to control the heavens and the earth?" However, it was only a short moment before Jade Archive Xiaohua shook his head and said with a smile, "No, this is merely the control of 7 types of quintessence energy. I still don't understand the meaning of this quintessence energy, and I don't understand the source of this quintessence energy. I still have a very long way to go. Of course, even so, I's light escape should be almost perfect. Taking shelter in the light is escape. After saying that, Xiaohua came out from the space and returned to his mind and body. When Xiaohua opened his eyes, his face was once again filled with surprise. He looked around in disbelief and then frowned. This was because in his eyes, nothing had changed. The realm storm was still the realm storm, and the space passage was still the space passage. It was just that the realm storm, which had lost the origin of water, was calmer than before. The light produced by the realm principles colliding with each other, didn't bring Xiaohua any joy. Damn it! Xiaohua's burning expectations seemed to have been doused with cold water. He couldn't help but curse in a low voice. This Xiao spent a lot of effort and even begged the Yi family's ancestor, Old Man Peacock, and even used the immortal world's secret technique and the five-colored divine light to absorb the origin of water into my body. But why didn't it have any effect? Could it be that, this Xiao's cultivation of the light escape technique has deviated? After all, there are only light shadows in the light escape technique, and there aren't any techniques. This Xiao only knows how to use the origin of 5 elements to temper my bones. Could it be that there are other tricks to cultivating the light escape technique? After cursing in a low voice, Xiaohua's mood gradually calmed down. The other doppelgangers didn't come out. They were all absorbing the origin of water in Xiaohua's body. Xiaohua pinched his chin again. Looking at the realm crack below him, he secretly thought, both Old Man Gu Qiong and Bright Moon Householder mentioned the space passage. Isn't this realm crack in front of me a space passage? With their strength, they couldn't break the realm crack earlier because there was a realm storm coming from the 10,000 demon realm. After the realm storm subsided, they could naturally reach the 10,000 demon realm. The reason why they wanted to ask this Xiao for help was that they were worried that they would lose all their spiritual power after reaching the 10,000 demon realm. They wouldn't be able to deal with the sudden attack of the 10,000 demon realm. Of course, it's meaningless for them to enter the 10,000 demon realm alone. They must want to bring their disciples and grand disciples with them, just like the Xian Alliance. Previously, this Xiao had no way. Now that this Xiao has obtained the Yi family's space maintenance technique, although it can only maintain the void passage, it can also open a passage for them in this realm storm. It's just that I can't guarantee that their spiritual power won't be exhausted. This thought had appeared in Xiaohua's mind more than once. Now, it was growing like wild grass. Xiaohua thought for a moment, then shook his head again and said, "Forget it. The Xian Alliance's Alliance Master has a space spirit treasure that can open a space passage. This Xiao doesn't have this ability now. Don't waste the hundreds of millions of cultivators of the Yilan continent. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote, vote for a recommendation vote, collect, reward, and thank all forms of support." Chapter 5000. As he spoke, Xiaohua was about to move, but as soon as he moved, he froze on the spot. Because as soon as he activated the flying technique, some silk-like shadows appeared near him. The shadows were of different colors and had different lengths. Xiaohua calmed down for a moment, and his face was filled with ecstasy. He activated the flying technique again and flew toward the heavenly wind forbidden zone. After a while, the joy on Xiaohua's face faded, and he stood in the realm storm with a smile on his face. So that's how it is. Xiaohua thought to himself, although this Xiao has already absorbed the 5 elemental origins into my body, the final water origin hasn't completely tempered my bones. Thus, this Xiao has only just touched upon the threshold of light escape and has yet to reach the next level. Since it is the threshold, what I see is naturally the outline. The light near me can only be in the shape of lines, cotton, or clouds. When I complete the last layer of the 7 colors bone refinement technique, I will be able to make contact with these lights and use the earth escape technique, wood escape technique, and so on to escape with the help of light. Damn it, just thinking about it makes me excited. Ordinary 5 elements escape techniques only use the earth, wood, water, fire, metal, and other elements to escape, but I can actually use light. Thinking of this, Xiaohua was stunned again and almost cried out involuntarily, "No way. If so, wouldn't my light escape technique be invincible in the world? In this world, where is there no light? Even in the night, there is light. As long as there is light, I can escape. Moreover, as far as I know, no restriction can confine light, right? In other words, it's impossible for all restrictions to trap me." Oh, of course, if a cultivator whose strength is far greater than mine freezes the space before I escape, I might not be able to escape. Xiaohua thought quickly and flew toward old man Gu Qiong and the others. Behind him, the realm storm was as turbulent as before, and the heavenly wind forbidden zone was restored to its original state. After Xiaohua flew into the heavenly wind forbidden zone, old man Gu Qiong and the others didn't approach him. Instead, they flew far away and avoided the center of the storm. When they saw Xiaohua flying over with a smile on his face, they looked at each other and hurriedly flew over. They cupped their fists and said, "Congratulations, Senior Xiao. Congratulations. Congratulations to you too." Xiaohua was happy in his heart and returned the greeting with a smile. He looked at everyone and said, "As the saying goes, everyone picks up firewood to make the fire stronger. If it weren't for fellow Taoist Yi and fellow Taoist Kong today, even if I saw this item, I'm afraid I would have to return empty-handed." "Senior Xiao," Yizhen said with a smile, "in fact, you to obtain the water origin, and with your strength, you to the 3 continents of the heavenly wind forbidden zone is origin of the origin to obtain the origin. It's just that you are worried about the billions of creatures in the 3 continents, so you would rather not obtain the heavenly wind forbidden zone and return to the lost land. You don't want to repeat the same mistake. Yes, it's because you care about the world that the heavenly wind forbidden zone sent us to help you." Kong Chang also smiled and said, "And to be honest, in my life, I have encountered many spiritual treasures, and there have been many opportunities to snatch them. But there has never been a time when I was sincerely willing to give away the spiritual treasure. This is not because of how powerful Senior is, but because Senior's moral conduct is truly admirable to this junior. Let me give you an example. When I helped you just now, I could have used my Dharma body to cross realms and enter the 10,000 demon realm. Naturally, I could have obtained the water origin, but at that time, I didn't have such thoughts at all. I just wanted to help you get the spiritual item. Of course, you trusted me a lot and didn't avoid anything. You let me touch the spiritual treasure freely. This is one of the reasons why I didn't have any grudges at all. Thank you, everyone." Xiaohua was too lazy to distinguish whether these words were true or not. He smiled and raised his hand to take out a lot of rejuvenation pills and immortal peaches and gave them to everyone. "You are all the supreme cultivators of the Yi-Lin continent, so I can't give you ordinary pills and magic tools. These things are useful for making up for your lifespan, so please accept them. Senior Xiao is too polite." Old man Gu Qiong and the others were a little embarrassed and said one after another, "Take them." Xiaohua said with a smile, "This is what I promised you before." "Thank you, Senior." Everyone took the spiritual treasures and couldn't refuse. Kong Chang hesitated and asked in a low voice, "Senior, if it's possible, can you give me some more Tai Wei green light?" Xiaohua smiled bitterly and said, "This Xiao knows what you mean. Logically speaking, the quintessence of water is capable of producing boundless grand moon azure light, so this Xiao has no problem giving you some. But, the quintessence of water has already been fused into this Xiao's body. This Xiao is unable to take out this grand moon azure light." Ah! Everyone opened their mouths in shock. They wanted to say something, but no one knew what to say. Perhaps they didn't have the same understanding of the water origin, but one thing was for sure, and that was, it was an origin item. Since it was an origin item, how could it be integrated into one's body? They didn't know if immortals could integrate it into their bodies, but they at least knew that Xiaohua could integrate it into his body. Then, was he still human? Was he still a cultivator from the mortal world? Xiao Hua was also very helpless. He didn't want to say this kind of secret, but if he didn't say it, he wouldn't be able to find a better way to explain why he couldn't give out the Tai Wei Cyan light. A lie needed 100 lies to cover it up. He understood this principle, so he simply told half of the truth. Say. Senior. After a long while, Kong Chang stuttered, You've never encountered a situation where your lifespan has been depleted, right? Xiao Hua nodded and said, That's true. Kong Chang suddenly understood. He took a deep breath and said, I don't dare to ask about Senior's secret, but since Senior's body can integrate with an origin item, then Senior's lifespan should be as long as the heavens, right? I don't know about this. Xiao Hua waved his hand and said, That's a matter for immortals to consider. It's just that my cultivation technique is different, and I need it. Moreover, Old Man Gu Qiong also came back to his senses and asked hastily, Senior, did you perceive the existence of the gate of the celestial realm? I'm sorry. Xiao Hua shook his head and said, My cultivation technique is different from that of the Yi Lin continent. I crossed the tribulation and reached the Mahayana realm, so I didn't perceive the existence of the gate of the celestial realm. Then, Senior's ascension. Bright Moon Householder was also concerned about this matter, so he asked hastily. Daoist Ji Yen didn't wait for Bright Moon Householder to finish speaking. He also came back to his senses and said hastily, That's right. Senior's strength has already surpassed us juniors in the late stage of the crossing tribulation realm, so you should have ascended long ago. I have a secret technique to suppress my realm. Xiao Hua explained, If it weren't for the billions of living beings in the 3 continents, I would have ascended long ago. So that's how it is. Old Man Gu Qiong, Bright Moon Householder, and Daoist Ji Yan's eyes lit up, and they suddenly understood. Soon after, they probed carefully, Senior, if it's possible, could you let us watch the ceremony when you ascend? Old Man Gu Qiong was afraid that Xiao Hua would misunderstand him, so he quickly explained that he couldn't sense the gate of the celestial realm. He then said with a smile, Senior, I should have ascended long ago, but the world's spiritual energy changed, and I couldn't find the gate of the celestial realm. So, I stayed in the mortal world for too long, and my vital energy, which had undergone a transformation before, started transforming again. I'm afraid that my 100,000 years of cultivation will turn into water. This is why I want to watch the ceremony from the side and see whether I still have a chance. Senior, please have mercy on me. That's right. We also have the same idea. Senior, please have mercy on us. Bright Moon Householder and the others said as they looked eagerly at Xiao Hua. Xiao Hua shrugged and said with a smile, I don't care. However, I'm going to cross the Wuming Mountain range to the Dawn Rain continent, so I won't stay in the Yi Lin continent for long. If there are no accidents, I will complete my ascension in the Dawn Rain continent. If you want to watch the ceremony, I'm afraid you can only follow me to the Dawn Rain continent. Of course, if you follow me to the Dawn Rain continent and help me solve the problem of the celestial array, I will thank you on behalf of the billions of people in the 3 continents. After Xiao Hua finished speaking, everyone looked at each other. Xiao Hua had already said that he was going to the Dawn Rain continent, but at that time, they didn't realize that he was about to ascend. Now that he mentioned it, everyone hesitated and thought about what to do. Senior. After a while, Old Man Gu Qiong was the first to speak. He said helplessly, when you said that you were going to the Dawn Rain continent to break the celestial array and save the world, we were all excited and wanted to follow you, but, why didn't we say anything? It was because the Wuming Mountain range was between the Yi Lin continent and the Lost Land, which was the Dawn Rain continent. The Wuming Mountain range was too dangerous. It was even more dangerous than the realm shackles from the Yi Lin continent to the 10,000 demon realm. If we passed through the realm shackles, we could survive, but if we passed through the Wuming Mountain range, we would definitely die. Bright Moon Householder also said, what Old Man Gu Qiong said is right. It's not that we don't want to go to the Lost Land to help you, but we really don't dare to. We may know more about the Woman Mountain Range than the Taoists of the Taoist Alliance. However, what we know is limited because a long time ago, some seniors of the Heavenly Alliance tried to pass through the Woman Mountain Range, but almost none of them succeeded. The more powerful a cultivator is, the easier it is to die in the Woman Mountain Range. For example, Void Refinement Realm and Primordial Spirit Refinement Realm cultivators couldn't pass through it. Only Nascent Soul Realm and Golden Core Realm cultivators were relatively safe. As for us, we don't even dare to think about it. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, give it a tip, and you're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.